me! Don't you dare interrupt me! Hey!
You're right now, you
little shit.
How you doing, man? I haven't talked to you in 10 minutes? 5?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm sipping on a special brew here called Sweet Child of Vine.
I'm gonna be trying yet another Guinness Blonde American Lager because it just spits in the face of everything Irish. It's wonderful.
Oh, yes.
Fantastic.
Great. Offending me on top of that.
See, Mr. Inquisition here, you thought that you were gonna mess things up by bringing Holler in here. What you didn't realize that our levels of bullshit are so high that I don't know.
No, I think he thought I was actually going to be a good supplemental,
He was wrong.
I guess to you.
He was so wrong.
I can play the part. Hey, man, I can be that guy.
Should we just turn this into the Jay Holler and draft shoots the shit?
I'd take that. Hell.
I mean, no, you want to ask questions.
Holler, how does thy horse fame?
First off, you
an anthology.
You make a top 10 list by doing, you do the thing that's going to be take the least amount of effort, and you do that, and then you just watch that sweet Patreon money roll right in, and then just don't do shit after that. Okay?
Does that mean I have to cosplay?
Cosplaying doesn't hurt. The more stupid you look, for your fans, the more they will like you for some reason.
Should I play Slenderman while rickrolling people, or is that 2008 too much?
Well, here's the problem with you and Slenderman. The name itself implies you have to be slender, and you are not of that. You're not like that, sir. I'm just saying.
No. Okay, first of all, I can be qualified as Slender Men. Second of all.
Oh yeah, that's true. You could, if you want to approach it like that, sure. Second of all,
that game sucks. Really, it does. It's terrible. It's really bad.
I'm not a fan either, actually. So there you go.
Yeah, I mean, I tried to stay to the left as much as I could, but you just go up against the edge of the map pretty quickly.
Your in-jokes don't work here. Sorry.
My in-jokes work everywhere.
Well, this is going to be really good. This should be pretty easy. I wanted to show off the thumbnail. Get your reaction here.
I like that thumbnail.
Oh, the artist animated it a little bit. Take a look.
I'm about to say, who's your artist? They're really good.
Oh, Grey Cat Silvermane.
I like it a lot because it probably.
Oh, very nice.
You're Mr. Bison. It's
what? I'm Bison.
Yeah.
Well, your OC's kind of got that blue tinge to him, so it already looks like he has the psycho energy, and I was like, yeah.
I mean, the fact that it's also animated, that's really cool too.
Yeah, actually, I gotta see this. So there we go.
Play the video.
Holy crap.
I was praying like hell you would like it. I was like, oh god. I've liked surprising the guests with it. I've actually had one guest who's like, nope, that's shit. Nope, you can't use that.
That's the thing. I think we appreciate the effort here. It's the effort. It's real. No, it's good, man. Great.
No, it's pretty good. I have to say that that me as Bison, I always thought he was an asshole in the movie, but I guess I'm an ass. It's really appropriate, isn't it?
I was picturing you hamming it up from like a.
Okay, I do like that. Rarity's Chun-Li, is that right? And then
it's a bunch of analysts in the picture.
I mean, you are mixing up two games here.
Yeah, I can
tell. I mean, I don't care. Whatever.
And they got a Draconicus instead of the Okay, that's some effort there. That's some effort put in. Mm-hmm. Somebody had to design a Bison uniform for my OC floating in the air. That's how weird this fandom has gotten. That's how far it's gotten.
Well, originally this was supposed to be. I was like, hey, there's going to be so many co-hosts. He was supposed to give me one row of people and two people, in the foreground. And I got this for the background for 35. And he's like, well, here's the good news. In the future, just give me the two people you want in there. And he's like, can I use Tom since he's going to be on this thing? I was like, yeah, absolutely. Nice. And he's like, yeah, $30. We'll put this together. And I'm like, beautiful.
That's hilarious.
He got it done at the 11th hour.
That's hilarious.
Good job.
Fantastic.
Whee! This is the golf clap you get.
That didn't sound like a golf clap. That sounded like a complete clap. They would have thrown you off the putting green for that, sir. Unbelievable.
I'm clapping for Neal X's entrance into our... You're late, Neal!
I am so sorry. It's completely unforeseen.
That's all good.
It's perfectly all right. I didn't know for the longest time if Final Draft was coming or not, and I was like, oh crap.
I said I was in Canada. I wasn't kidding.
Oh no, I got you. I was like, well, I know Jay's super busy, Tom's super busy, and I was like, if I get them to show up and you're not here, I'm gonna hear about it.
Oh no, Jay would just call me up and was like, Draft, you're doing this. I'll be like, why? Because. And I'll be like, okay.
Because you need to, so I can make fun of you, essentially.
You would do that anyway, though.
Yeah.
We need to podcast, you and I. We need it.
Yeah, that's a terrible idea. So let's do it. So we're gonna end up.
We're definitely gonna do it. Yeah, no, it has to happen.
This is the worst idea you've had.
See, if you guys don't realize, Holler and I only live about 20 minutes apart, so I always am bothering that poor guy.
I was gonna say, like, the original idea was almost for him to come to my place and we'd like both be on the same mic, but that would be a problem with the headphones, and you'd have a double feedback because we'd have to have the audio coming out of my speakers, and that wouldn't work. So
You're such a nerd.
what? I happen to run a podcast for a now defunct website. I forget the name.
Well,
of
if you
it.
shared a mic, your heads would be uncomfortably close to each other. But I guess that
Yeah.
doesn't bother you guys.
Ooh.
Holler, I gotta talk to you about PMV posting or something.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, PMV posting? No, I don't do that anymore, especially for defunct sites that died in forest fires.
You know what? That forest fire was like a controlled burn, okay?
It was. Anyway. Well, I'm sure we'll talk about this. They have no idea what the fuck you're talking about.
I think they have a... No, they don't.
About the... Maybe not the forest fire, but yeah.
Did I see Tom here? Was Tom here?
Tom's supposed to be here. He said if he gets his things done, we could start off. I feel
okay.
terrified to like ask anything because you guys have a good flow, and I'm like, I don't want to bother this.
Ask your damn questions.
All right, let me do my little.
Can I ask? Is my mic okay? Is sound levels okay?
Oh yeah, sounds perfect.
Right.
Say, I was about to say, let me do the intro here. This is FNGR with Limbo Podcast, joined by the following co-hosts: Neal X,
Hello,
Jay Holler,
Hi.
and this week's King of Limbo Final Draft.
Hey, how's it going?
Oh, what would you prefer to be called? Final Draft, Mr. Draft? Just so I get that out of the way.
You know, I'm going to answer this question in a little more detail than usual. I have found that people who have no idea who I am either call me Final or the full Final Draft. Everybody calls me Draft. Who knows me? Holler can tell you that. Everybody calls me Draft.
I call him Mikhail, so whatever.
He tries to.
You got put a little in your voice.
I've generally gone with Mike, but I'm kind of a old
Mike
school
works
guy.
No, Mike works too. No, it does. No, but like if you're going to go by fan...
I still believe in real names. God damn it!
Yeah.
You can tell from mine.
Mr. Bernstein.
No, yeah, so if you're going to go by a real name, yeah, Mike. If you're going to go by a fandom name, Draft is fine. I've never gone by Final. Usually when people say Final, it means they're about to tell me something bad. They're like, hey, Final, just wanted to let you know that LPU is failing. I'm like, no! You know, it's like...
Certainly. Let's see here. How far in the Brony were you before you conceived the idea of Everfree Network?
Oh, I think I was only a Brony for about 2 months, but I have to, like, we didn't conceive of it as a network to start off with. It was just going to be a podcast, so that's why it started off as Everfree Radio. We didn't think it was going to become a network, and then about a year into doing the podcast, especially after we had streamed the Brony Can in January 2012, we realized that we were encompassing more than just a podcast on our site, so really it shifted and grew into a network. So yeah, I'd say about a month, because I became a Brony in August of 2011, and I think our first episode was released October 2nd of 2011, and we used a lot of September for production and startup, so yeah, it was pretty quick.
For inspiring entrepreneurs or people who are just starting their own business, what's something that you'd have them consider before they got started?
Well, what kind of business are you talking about? Because that is very dependent on that.
Specifically podcast talking about small pastel horses.
Yeah, for someone trying to start like some kind of...
Well, no, he's starting...
We'll tell you what...
he's like starting a business. I'm like, if you want to start a laundromat, I have no advice for you.
No, I understand. You're, to best of my knowledge, you're working on, it's a MSP, I believe is the name of the convention?
Yeah, it's this little podunk thing. No, yeah, okay, so going to your original question, for starting a podcast, the truth is there are a lot of podcasts out there. There always have been. Even when we started, there were still a lot. I mean, there were only a couple known ones, but you have to put in as much effort as you want people to take out of it. Like, if you do it too lazily, you know, it's going to come out lazy, and people aren't going to want to listen to it. You have to put in, the effort you want to take out of it.
You get out of it what you put into it.
Conventions are a different world entirely. I got involved with that after helping stream so many of them. I saw so much of the behind the scenes that I started getting what I call a staff infection, where they're just attending a convention. Shut up, Holler.
Take a drink for every bad pun. That's the Final Draft Limbo drinking game we're making up right now off the bat. Every pun you drink. I don't know. Every draftism you drink. I'll tell you when a draftism occurs.
Oh, you won't have to tell them. They're grown.
Are you saying you take a draft every time?
That's a drink.
That is a drink.
Every bad pun involving draft.
No, I call it a staph infection because basically what happens is that if you go to enough conventions, I've been to 21 Brony conventions now, and long before I got to that level, you start seeing things you disagree with, or that you want to fix, or that you feel like you can help out with. I mean, there are only so many VA panels you can attend before you know what they're going to look like, you know? There are only so many charity auctions or concerts. I mean, they kind of start to become, they don't just kind of, they do become very similar, and so if you're trying to expand your involvement with conventions, that happens easily. So that's what happened to me. I got the convention bug, and then I found out that there was going to be a convention in Minneapolis, and this was towards the end of 2013. So I contacted the organizers, and I started consulting for them, and I worked with them for about 4 months as a consultant, and then I finally said, okay, I'll do this, but I have to be able to make sure that it runs properly. And so, yeah, we've had 2 MLP MSPs in Minneapolis so far, one in 2014 and then one this year. And we're going to have a 3rd one next year. Hooray.
What's something that you've seen in Brony conventions you're not fond of that you wouldn't have at your show?
Oh, man, that's a big... I could talk forever about this.
Let's get the checklist out.
Yeah, get the checklist out. Okay, first and foremost, okay, so I just...
Hey, I got time.
You got time? All right, everybody.
Let me get another beer for this one.
Go for a bathroom break, everyone. You know, like, we're going to be doing this for a while. No, I think the biggest problem are the new conventions that are more interested in their staff than they are in the attendees. I think that with conventions, you have to have 3 priorities. Your first priority should be the attendees. If the attendees aren't having fun, your convention's garbage. Second priority should be the VIPs, like the voice actors, because if they're not having fun, then they're not going to go to more conventions, and if they're not going to more conventions, then your convention's not fun, and there you go. Third priority has to be a cogent and happy staff. Basically, you want your staff to be actually motivated to do their jobs, because otherwise the convention will fall to crap. And too many conventions have that order reversed, where they're more concerned about making sure all their staff are all happy, and that all of their friends are doing what they want to do as opposed to what they should be doing. And that leads to a lot of disorganization, as well as a lot of just things falling through the floor. Bad programming decisions, schedule problems, VAs not happy. I mean, there's a whole host of problems. So I think the biggest problem I've seen amongst Brony conventions, and it's not as bad in 2015 as it was in 2013, because in 2013 there were like 5 or 6 cons that tried to start up and just didn't. But I think the biggest problem is when the convention is comprised of a local meetup group that tries to act like a group of friends, and I've said this in a video, as opposed to acting like a business. And I know that doesn't sound like magical and friendly, but if you don't run your con like a business, even if you're not intending to make a profit, you know, even if you don't run it like a business, it's going to come out as a mess. That's what I'd say.
Ooh. So speaking, can I jump in here a little
Certainly.
bit? So recently you were at a convention draft in Vancouver.
Oh, I was.
Brony Can. So what was your overall feeling about that convention, and what potential improvements, if any, would you have to say about them?
Are you just looking for reasons to drink? Like, yes. Is that what you're trying to do here? Okay,
see, I tried to ask it all formal and professional.
His voice
your favorite word. Your favorite word.
So sincere. You sound so sincerely curious.
You know what?
Your tone there.
So first of all, let's just go back, because he's like, oh yeah, it's your favorite word. Professional, I think, is a very good thing. If your product is professional, or if your podcast or your site is professional, your fans are going to enjoy it more because it's done right. That's why I used the word professional, but then it got taken everywhere, and everybody thought, oh, well, it meant elitist and arrogant and all that. I know, Holly, you already know that.
Why can't I bring my Rainbow Dash body pillow around the convention space draft? Actually, you allowed that. Never mind.
I did allow that. Yeah, that was funny.
Why can't I bring my Bad Dragon dildo toy out of the convention space draft to drink from shots of alcohol with?
Did that happen?
No. No.
I was like, I think I would have heard about it.
Not at your con, at least.
Shifty eyes. I hear shifty eyes.
No, that never would happen.
No.
Well, yeah.
Okay, here's what I'll say about Brony Can. Here's what's fair. It was the first time I went to a foreign convention, and you know, you think Canada, you don't think it's very foreign, but there is a foreign culture there. Canada has a very different culture than America, and that convention, I feel like there were maybe 4 or 5 key members of the staff, and I'm thinking right now of Rabbit, aka Christina, who ran their guest relations. I'm thinking Tbbbap Hooves, their con chair. I'm thinking of, was it Tylor? It's pronounced Tylor, who was their vice chair, and a couple other people who really did their jobs great. Like, they did their jobs amazing, in my opinion, and they were really helpful, and they if it wasn't for them, the convention would just have become an LPU. But they suffer heavily from I don't know what to best describe this as. They suffer really heavily from having their staff only be from the local area, first of all, and second of all, they're more concerned with making sure everyone on their staff and their group are happy as opposed to running a smooth con. So they have a policy I really disagree with that they were talking about, which is that at the end of each year, they fire their entire staff so that they can reshuffle everyone. And now it's true that some of them will do the same roles the next year, but most of the time they don't. They hire a new con chair every year. Sometimes that can be a good thing, but the problem is that in the end, all of their staffers end up being inexperienced at everything as opposed to experts at one thing. And so they end up scrambling at all. This whole con, they were scrambling to get anything done. I originally started off on their staff. I was a deputy of programming. I had to quit the second day because when I suggested one small change, it set off this whole freaking mudslide of nonsense. And yeah, so I had thorough disagreements with how they ran that con, but there were some people who really did a great job there. So I got to point that out. The other thing I would just say is that the attendees, a lot of them had a great time. I didn't see too much in the way of attendees complaining. There were a lot of lines, but even then, they're Canadians. They know how to queue.
Because there's certainly that difference between, there's fires going on behind the scenes, but as long as your attendees don't see those fires and generally are, not being disrupted in the events they plan on attending or whatever, then, there's a balance you definitely have to strike, I think.
For sure. I do think, though, it did affect them in some ways they may not have known. Like, I think their disorganization led to a lot of panels starting late. Mm-hmm. Luckily, they had some panel breaks between their panels because I spent a lot of time convincing them to put those in before the con. But yeah, the attendees had a good time, but I almost think that's because they haven't seen a very smoothly run convention. But they're happy, and again, it's a different crowd. I'm used to an American crowd, and I'm obnoxious by American standards. In Canada, I'm an absolute horror. Like, I'm a terror there.
I'm not. I can also confirm this, and I'll seal that with a drink as well.
There you go. I think I'm gonna take a swig.
I actually shot this one at Jay ahead of time. He gave me the green light on this. Do you have any behind-the-scene concerns? Guests not arriving, getting the right publicity, fans perhaps being overly rambunctious. Like, for example, somebody sneaking in mixed drinks into a convention.
Oh, are you talking about like for my con?
Yeah. Do you have any issues like the things that leap out? You're like, oh, this is my biggest headache when I'm putting a convention together.
Well, first of all, guests not attending isn't an issue. I mean, we see the pre-registration in advance. So, like, by the time the convention starts, we know that at a bare minimum, several hundred, I wish it was several thousand, several hundred people will be there because they've already paid. It would
now, are you talking about the regular guests, or are you talking about, like, the special guests, the show guests?
Yeah, the special guests.
That's what I figured you were actually asking about.
Well, the truth is, and this is no real secret, anytime you see a VA at a convention, or anytime you see like a show writer, they're there because they have a contract to be there. So legally they're obligated to show up unless they have, there's a clause in there that says if they have a reasonable reason they can't make it, some family emergency or whatever. So 9 times out of 10 at any convention, you're not going to have a problem like that. The first year we did MSP, we were going to have Pixel Kitties there, and at the last minute her husband had a dental emergency, like one of his teeth just cracked and he needed her to be there to help him out. So she canceled last minute. That's understandable. I didn't have a contract with her or anything, but like, it's something I'm not worried about.
Well, since you mentioned that, have you had any experiences working with Hasbro yourself, working with their officials? I'm told they can sometimes be difficult.
I have experience working with Hasbro because early on in the fandom, and a lot of people who are newer to this don't know this, early on Hasbro was incredibly nervous about Bronies and blacklisted any interviews or appearances at conventions that were Brony related. And in 2012, I spent a lot of time haggling and calling up agents and calling up lawyers and calling up Hasbro and trying to convince them that EFN at the time was a safe place to do interviews. And what it ended up doing, unfortunately, was because I was the only one getting the interviews, everyone thought I had some exclusive contract with them. It was like, no, I did the groundwork, so they knew me. Whereas everybody else was just expecting, they can send one email out. And yeah, it was a nightmare.
I don't mean to interrupt, but I do remember, I can say that, I'm not exactly a rumor mill guy, but I remember there are things swirling around about you. It's like, he has some sort of exclusive access.
Which is the stupidest thing if you think about it, because
Draft works for Hasbro.
Yeah, right? I wish I did, then I'd make money. No, like, it's the stupidest thing when you think about it, because what voice actor or their agent would sign an exclusivity contract unless they're getting paid butt tons of money, which I obviously don't have. EFN never had. Nothing we ever did was, charged. Yeah, and so what happened was that I did a lot of groundwork. Like, to give you an idea, because it's now been 3 years, to get my interview that we did with Ashleigh Ball in the summer of 2012, I had to first call up the sound recording studio. Then I had to call up DHX. This is me trying to get through to the agent, because the agent for Ashleigh Ball said no, she'll never do any interviews. Like, use the word never. Then, and they said, and I asked why, and they said, well, because DHX won't let her. So I went and I called up DHX. DHX said it was a legal issue. I called their lawyer. Their lawyer said it was a Hasbro issue. I asked them 4 times for Hasbro's phone number to call. Then I got that number, got through to Hasbro, tried calling like 20 times, finally got through to the guy who was a PR president, and I had to explain within, he's like, I've got 30 seconds, go. And I had to explain within 30 seconds why he should let me be the only one. I didn't say let me as in do the only one, but like be the first person he allows to interview Ashleigh Ball officially from the Brony community. I had to explain that my site was safe, that we were family friendly. This is another thing everybody criticized me for. That it was something they could work with. And then after all of that, Ashleigh Ball's agency demanded a faxed written permission from Hasbro. So I had to go through every hoop to get a written permission sent, not just an email, like an actual handwritten signed thing.
Now, so knowing something about the legal end of that kind of thing, that is no mean feat to get them to get you something like that. So
it took me 4 months to do it, and as soon as I released it, everybody started saying exclusivity contract. It's like, no,
I should have been giving you medals.
No, I don't want medals. I don't want medals. No, but look, seriously, like, all I wanted to do was interview somebody, and I was willing to jump through it to do it.
I had no idea that it went that deep.
Now, it wasn't like that for every one of them, but early on, it was very much like that.
Wow.
Yeah.
And when you said earlier that Hasbro would blacklist things, what do you mean by that? Just not allow them?
Yeah, they wouldn't allow VAs to talk to anyone. They wouldn't allow them. They tried, and it didn't work because they don't have a legal basis for it, but they tried to say that no major VAs could attend any Brony conventions. And that didn't last very long because the VAs wanted to go, and Hasbro doesn't have any legal basis over
there's nothing in their contracts that says, thou shalt not talk to thy fans. Right?
Exactly. But remember, these are the early days when nobody really knew what Bronies were about. Like, there weren't documentaries to look at. There weren't, tons of interviews.
What's wrong with them just being fans? I mean, what I'm asking is this
because it was so weird. It was so weird they didn't know what to make of it.
It's just because Bronies, because this shouldn't be happening because it's so weird. It's not like they do this for every fan base.
It's more like, I think you have to look at it in numbers. Like, Bronies are a contingent of the fans, that's for sure, but we are still a minority. The vast majority of Hasbro's sales and viewership come from 7 to 12-year-old girls.
Right.
So you have to remember that. So looking at it at a raw numbers game, this is the problem that Hasbro was afraid of. It's a concept called brand integrity. This, again, is why being professional was important at the time. Right. Let's say they let everybody go to some convention, I don't know, in Nevada, and let's say that convention
turned out to be some sort of freak show, or
turned out to be some sort of crazy, like, sex crazy, scene, people trying to, you never knew because they didn't know anything about the fans, and they thought it was very weird. What if it became something perverted? The last thing Hasbro needed was some, like, hyper evangelical, conservative mom in Arkansas saying Walmart, boycott Walmart because they sell ponies. That would impact their sales by millions upon millions of dollars. So it was a brand integrity issue. They were concerned by letting any access happen, they risked their entire brand. Now, that's not realistic, but that's what we're thinking.
And it sounds surreal considering, I mean, when you look at today, there's conventions all over the place, and they're, voice actors are appearing all over the place. So now it seems strange that was the case.
It's a different world now. I mean, it's not new anymore. It's established, and
Now we know that Bronies are just another fan base with cons, just like, all the... I mean, it happened at the time when, like, all these nerd things are starting to become more mainstream. I mean, Bronies were kind of riding the crest of that wave, you could say, in a way, right?
I think to some extent, it definitely was a new type of fandom that was very specific to a small niche, but it was weird. Yeah. But again, the other thing you've got to remember about Hasbro and about most of these companies that do any kind of television program is that they base their viewership numbers off of Nielsen ratings. Mm-hmm. Not named for the Neal in this call, but...
Well, actually, I remember, I mean, we discussed this when you appeared on the Elements of Brony, like, years ago, like in 2013.
Yeah, it's still true though. It hasn't changed.
Right.
What I told Neal at the time was that Nielsen ratings are based on landline phone calls to people watching the show as it airs. So now think about that. Do the Bronies really fall into that genre at all?
Hardly ever.
Yeah,
Next
absolutely.
to never. So Bronies are like a blip on their map because they're still using, polling methods from the 70s, and that's because the studio executives are thinking like that, and so it's weird to them. It is, but they're starting to see the numbers.
Right.
So,
Yeah, it's true. And for example, on YouTube, I know that nowadays pony clips and show clips are not getting blocked or taken down nearly as much as they were in the past.
Well,
I mean,
they're
you can
never-
go on YouTube and watch full episodes. That kind of thing.
I'm told that'll change if the sales on the toys drop. It's supposedly.
Well, I don't know if that's true or not. That I think is
No.
theory. They wouldn't
Most of
announce it.
It doesn't get taken down, but they monetize. They don't do it because they make money off of that anyways. They
Right.
they monetize those clips, and so Hasbro is making a lot of money
Right.
on ad revenue off YouTube right now.
Third party.
But I'm fine with it. I know that a lot of fans
know.
are fine with that. It's just like,
Oh, yeah.
just let us have it. I mean, we're
No,
not
like,
hurting.
yeah,
I think
no,
they're a
exactly.
little more open to it at this point. Like I
Yeah,
think it's not as weird to them. But anyway.
Right.
So back to Everfree Network. Was there ever like a high sustainable point where like I'm comfortable here, the business can thrive?
It wasn't a business effectively. I mean, we were bleeding money at all times. Like a business makes a profit to keep it going to make more profit. We ran it like a business, but we never made money. Like the only time we ever made any amount of money was from monetization of videos, and all that money went straight towards server costs. So we never made a profit at any given time. So in a financial sense, it was never sustainable. In a interest sense, I think we reached a peak of interest in the site around 2013. I was trying to push it to become more comprehensive. I felt like, and I still feel like, the fandom lacks a website that comprehensively shows its content in a fair and sourced manner. Right now what we have are basically blogs out there. And yeah, I mean, that's fun. Blogs are easier to read. And I think that was our number one detriment, was that EFN wasn't an easy to read site. It's hard to do that. We were trying to find ways to slim it down, but from a content perspective, there's just too much. The fandom was putting out a lot. We had a crew of about 30 people at our peak, constantly trying to put things on that site. I mean, it was a full-time job just to manage it all, and we were producing 13 separate shows by the end, and it was a lot. But in the end, we got to a tipping point where it's like the amount of effort we're putting in versus the amount getting taken out of it by the fandom. We didn't think that there was a balance there. I mean, we were basically pouring in everything we had to make a site that, people appreciated, but didn't justify the amount of time it was taking out of everyone. Because
With hindsight being what it is, what would you do differently?
well, it's hard to say because
Less PMV posting.
that was right. I think the number one thing I would have done is I was idealistic. At the time, I thought that if we had a relatively intelligent, clean run website, that it would appeal to, because a lot of Bronies are very intelligent. What I've learned since then is a lot of Bronies are not very intelligent. And
you need more memes, is what you're saying.
I needed more memes.
You did not have Kitty was there at your disposal this entire time. You did not utilize them to his full support.
I could have included a lot more fun, stupid stuff. The other thing is that the way the site looked and the way that, what our content was, when people saw me, I mean, we looked serious business. Behind the scenes were goofballs, but in front of the scenes, we presented such a serious front that people thought we were like
Brony CNN.
Yeah, I saw one time a post that said, "Final Draft is trying to Christianize the fandom." It cracked me up because I'm the most atheist person.
You're an atheist.
Yeah, big time.
You're so atheist. You're so atheist. You don't even like Richard Dawkins. you don't think he's hardcore enough, right?
No, I think Richard Dawkins.
I'm kidding.
Going to shut the hell up sometimes. He likes to spit out stupid statements just to get people riled up. I used to like him a lot. I've met him twice.
That statement is just funny because you're Jewish anyways. So it's just
I'm
trying to Christianize.
I'm about as Jewish as a bacon cheeseburger.
No, fair enough. But that's what you were brought up as. It's like
I wasn't even brought up as Jewish.
I Oh.
No, I just have a Jewish last name and ethnicity.
Oh, there you go.
I did go to a Jewish preschool, but I forgot every Hebrew word I learned by the time I was 5. So there you go.
Interesting.
Do you have any coworkers you miss working with that you don't have the opportunity to anymore?
After EFN?
Yeah.
No, because we all are still friends and still talk all the time.
Oh, that's solid.
Yeah, it was not when we broke up, it was by no means a dramatic thing or even a financial thing. And I said that I wrote that letter that went out about why we ended. And yeah, I mean, we're all still friends. Cowboy Dave, who was our production director, I talked to him earlier today. I've talked to 8-Track recently. I've talked, Nash, you name it. The staffers, we all still get along. So yeah.
Let's see. This is a classic question. Some fans choose to pass on this. The fun ones like Jay here like to answer it. What's the most trouble you've ever been in? You keep it fandom related if you'd like.
Oh, if we're staying fandom related, the most trouble I've ever been in?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess you could say me getting thrown out of BabsCon. I mean, I have no problem talking about that. Because, yeah, I mean, if you're going to talk about fandom-related trouble, but that being said, it was a political move on their part, so...
Oh, sure, if you'd like to expand. I thought you were going to go with the debt, but sure.
Oh, the debt? No, I mean, we weren't, recklessly throwing money at things. We knew we were spending the money, but we were spending money. So it wasn't like we came out of it and all of us were, beggars or something.
So what exactly happened at BabsCon?
What happened at BabsCon was that, I don't know if you knew this, I'm the associate producer on a Brony Tale, which is the documentary that came out about Ashleigh Ball last year.
Mm-hmm.
And I helped produce it back in 2012 when it was, still nascent. I helped Brent Hodge find all the people he talked to in the film, with some exceptions that he ran into by himself. And so Brent and I had been in constant contact since he had filmed it in 2012, and he was looking for a distributor. Well, last year he finally got one, and it was with Morgan Spurlock's company. And Morgan Spurlock's the guy who does Super Size Me.
Mm-hmm.
And so Brent got a premiere date at the Tribeca Film Festival in New York in April of last year. Well, it was the week after BabsCon. I decided to go to BabsCon because I thought, what the hell, I'll just go to a convention and have fun. I won't staff it. We weren't trying to stream it at the time. I did know that a lot of their upper staff were from PVL or other groups that like to hate on EFN, and so I was like, whatever, I'm just going to go and have a good time. What happened was that I ran into Brent in the hallway, and because he was living in San Francisco at the time. Now, bear in mind, a week later, I was going to the film festival. Brent brought me and Dusty and Silverhound out for that, and there are pictures and all that from that event. Brent wanted to talk to me in private because he didn't want to talk out in the middle of the hallway, so he pulled me into the nearest room, which happened to be the green room. And so I'm in this room with talking to Brent, and there's Ashleigh Ball, and I know Ashleigh as well, so I was saying, hey, I'm looking forward to New York, what's the plan here? Are we going to be eating at this restaurant? Just talking random crap. Next thing I know, people are kind of circling around, giving me ugly looks, and I was like, okay, I probably should get out of here. Then I saw Peter New across the room, and I know Peter very well, so I walked over to him, shook his hand, said hello. Then one of the staffers came up and said, all right, Draft, you're not allowed in this room. I said, fine. So I went up to Brent and I said, hey, I got to get out of this room. They're kicking me out of this room. He's like, why? And I said, I don't know. They don't like I mean, there was apparently a VIP event going on at the time, which I didn't really realize because I got dragged into that room. I didn't even know it was the green room because it was on the main floor. That's the other thing. They put their green room right next to their main floor. Usually with conventions, you put your green room up in a different floor of the hotel or somewhere where people won't just waltz in on it.
Oh, hey, I've been to Brony Can. I've wandered into... Well, they're like, oh, don't go into this area. Yeah, it happens.
It happens. It's not common, though. So anyway, the next day, I was hosting a panel with Brent about the film. And Ashleigh's on the panel. And right before I get on the panel, one of the staffers came up and said, Draft, we really need to talk to you. I'm like, well, this panel's running 5 minutes over already. Kind of a stickler. I like panels to run on time. So I said, I'll talk to you afterwards. So I go up on the panel, and while I'm on this panel, this parade of BabsCon chief staffers walk in, give me ugly looks, walk out, talk amongst themselves, hover around. And at that point, I had a pretty clear idea they were going to try and pull something. As soon as the panel's over, I'm trying to leave the room. They came up to Kinero and Dave and tried to, I won't say confiscate their cameras, but they were doing some recording. And they started shoving them out of the way and say, put away your cameras or you'll be thrown off the premises. You are not allowed to record this. And they pulled me aside with Borg and then, Obsidian. somebody else and said, okay, you're getting thrown out of this convention. I said, why? And they said, number one, because you had too many media badges, which was bullshit because Borg was there when they were distributed. They claimed that we had one too many. They could have brought this to my attention earlier. We could have paid for it. And then two was that I had a, quote, formal complaint filed against me by a staffer, which was one of the people in that green room when I got pulled in there. And the third one is they said I was harassing show staff. That was me talking to Brent and Ashleigh. They said those three reasons were the reason why that I was getting thrown out of the convention. So then they tried to lead me away with security, and security was like grabbing me on the shoulder. I'm like, get your hands off me. So I go up to my hotel room, and I was kind of in shock because I didn't think they would be that stupid. I mean, I was talking to friends. I only did it that one time. I wasn't like, as soon as I knew it was the green room, I wasn't going in there. I wasn't crashing the autograph room. I wasn't like bothering people, but they decided to use those reasons as an excuse to throw me out of the con. And then I started getting a barrage of text messages. Like one of the first messages I got was from a VA saying, have you gotten your badge back yet? I had some other people, show staffers, I'm not going to name, but they were like, what the hell's going on? I quickly sent out an email to everybody I thought needed to know, and I said, hey, this is, what happened. But my flight wasn't until Monday, so I was basically stuck in my hotel room because every time I went out of the hotel room, people were giving me ugly looks or whatever. And yeah, I guess the rumors started spreading. From what I hear, my badge from BabsCon has become this like collector's item that is that's like paraded at some conventions.
It's your scalp.
I heard that this year that BabsCon printed off something like 50 badges with my name on it and gave it out to various horse news people. I don't really care. The way I look at it,
That's
yeah,
amazing.
I'm serious.
Party
And the way
favors.
you know what I think? Like I look at it like, wow, I've got that many more fans. Like I guess they really like me.
They like me. They
like me. If my badge has become a collectible, I take it as like a flattery. But yeah, I'd say that's the most trouble I got into, but it obviously hasn't had a long-lasting effect on what I do with the fandom, because since then I've run 2 conventions and run programming for another one, and I've attended all these other ones, hosted VA panels, whatever. So it was clearly bupkis. But I didn't go out and put a big interview on it because when it first happened, because when it happened, I really wanted to, like, at the time I had a really crappy Tumblr, and I thought, okay, I'll use this to just kind of
make a statement.
Yeah, I thought
I was actually wondering. I remember when this happened. I found out about it from Twitter or something like that, and I remember being like, "What? What's going on?" And,
yeah,
I was wondering if it sounded like you would put out a statement explaining your side of the story, but I never.
A lot of people wanted me to. But here's the problem: when the heat in the moment, like in that moment when I first got thrown out, I kind of felt like. And the other thing I should say too is some people I thought were my friends suddenly weren't. That was the worst part of it. It wasn't getting my badge taken. It was there were people that I thought there was some kind of they were my friends who suddenly just wouldn't talk to me. Or
are you talking about EFN people or just people?
Just other people.
Okay.
I mean, I know a lot of people in the fandom, obviously.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was just going to say I would have been surprised if it was EFN guys.
There was one EFN guy that got involved with that who I fired. But that's another story, and it doesn't really matter. But the point is that so right away I felt betrayed by a lot of people. Not the convention. I didn't care. I expected something stupid to happen because when you have that many people who hate on you publicly for years running an event, they're going to find a reason to make it hell for you if you're there. I was naive. I shouldn't have gone to that con, but I did because I like San Francisco and there were so many people there. I thought, okay, well, this will be a fun weekend. I thought if I basically just did my thing and didn't get in the way of how they ran the con, they wouldn't care, but of course they did. So at the time, I really wanted to post something, and a lot of people were sending me messages like, what happened? What happened? The worst is when they send you messages like, why would you yell at Ashleigh Ball? Somebody had spread a rumor that I was yelling at her, that I had hurt her feelings.
Yeah, that's what I was reading, because all I was getting was just not your side of things, right? What I'm saying.
And it's such total crap, too.
Right, I heard that it's like, he's harassing show staff, and I immediately thought this is BS, because you have known these people for a long time. I've never seen any hint that any of them would think of you as some kind of like. There's no reason you would do that.
The reason why I had to reach out to you is because I literally had so many people like, no, he's the worst. He'll take you down with you. I had like a friend. I had a friend literally unfriend me because I was talking to you, and I'm like, okay, if you don't turn out to be the absolute devil, I'm going to be terribly disappointed.
Well, he is he's the fucking devil. What are you talking about?
Look, nobody ever said the devil wasn't well spoken.
No, I should have. I think Draft. Is this the first time you've ever told that story like on any podcast? Like,
Yes,
so hey, guess what, Finger? You got the exclusive scoop on that.
But I do want to explain why I didn't make a public statement at the time. I want to clarify a couple things because I do not want this to be the source of some dumbass drama flaring up. In the end, at the time, I really wanted to say something, but then I realized when there's a lot of drama flaring up, even if it's all hate against me, I would have done the community more harm than good by posting anything. I said that I put a Twitter out. I said I got thrown out of the convention. It was a shame. I felt bad about it. I did tweet those things, and then I did tweet a picture of myself wearing my LPU badge because I brought it with me just in case. But then I was like, I could make a statement and start an argument, but what good would that do? I mean, if anything, there would be people polarized on whatever sides. They would start fighting or whatever, and even if there weren't that many people, it would just start more drama building on either Tumblr or Twitter or both or Reddit or 4chan. I mean, it was going to add fuel to a fire that needed to burn out. So I stayed silent on it because in the end, it was something so stupid and so akin to middle school.
Right.
It was middle school politics, and it's like, whatever, fine, I won't go to this convention again. And there are people who went to BabsCon that year and had a great time. Conventions, the number one reason people go to conventions is not the VAs, it's not the actual panels, it's to hang out with friends.
Yeah.
And they have an opportunity to do that at BabsCon. So, this year's con, people told me they had a good time when they went to that. I mean, in
a way, you actually undercut one of the biggest fandom criticisms about you, if there is one, is that it's you're this narcissistic person, whereas the ironic thing is that your response to it was to try and make sure that it didn't become something that was all about you.
Well, it was more or less, there was that, but it was more or less like I wanted to, I didn't want, I have to look at it like this way. My day job is I coach debate. Well, I shouldn't say that's my day job, but that's one of the things I do in my day job. Excuse my chair. And in the debate world, you see high school behavior all the time. You see high schoolers arguing with each other, whatever. Brony politics is like middle school behavior. It's like so immature, and it's like, and I'm like, you know what? At the time I was 29. I'm 30 years old.
I'm too old and too rich for this.
I'm not rich. I wish I was.
He's sitting on a camp of Brony Gold, Neal.
Yeah, right.
If I had the Brony bucks from LPU, man, you've got it all.
Okay, now those are going to be worth something.
One day.
With all of them filthy shekels.
Right. So, but like in the end, I was like, it wasn't worth it. Why do I need to argue with people who basically have the emotional capacity of 12-year-olds? I just don't need to. I don't need to deal with it. It's not worth my time. I mean, this fandom doesn't need any more of that shit.
Well, let's switch over to something positive then. Name some people in the Brony fandom you're a fan of.
People I'm a fan of in the Brony fandom. My favorite person in the Brony fandom is Jay Holler.
Good man.
Wow, you can even smell. I can smell the bullshit even from 15 miles away. I can. Wow.
Jay Holler does the top 10 videos every month.
You're sounding very similar to people I have actually had talk to me. Okay.
I'm
sorry.
No, but in all seriousness, Jay Holler is shit. No.
In all seriousness, I believe his statement. I believe he would say that about me. You dirty damn ape. You.
No, but really, we do need to talk about PNV posting at some point. Look, what we need to do is, people I'm a fan of. Actually, I'm a fan of Holler's work. Really like that Cut the Kid thing, by the way, from Anthology. I'm a fan of BVid's work, if we're going to start with PNVs. Argo Damon, Adam the Amazing, 64. Saber Spark cracks me up, and I think his humor has gotten even better. Like, he's becoming more of a professional comedian, and I'm using that word in a loose sense, whatever. Like, his humor is becoming more intellectual. I think he's hilarious that way.
Yes, he actually is intellectual. It's just
he's a closeted intellectual.
He is so much. It's great.
You think he's a dumbass, but that's just an act. The guy's really smart.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I've had the opportunity a long time ago to talk to him in podcast. He was totally.
I was able to meet him at when I went to MLP MSP last year.
Yeah, he's awesome. Cool. Yeah, no, I saw you there, Neal. I was glad to see that you made it all the way up from. You're still in Iowa?
Yeah, I am. Yeah.
I didn't meet Neal.
I saw you there, Jay.
My biggest disappointment is you didn't come up to me and say hi.
I'm sorry, I didn't say hi.
This year, now that we know there's another one happening, it's going to be different now, isn't it?
Wow, that got confrontation.
Neil, you're
This
gonna say
time.
hi to me, and you're gonna like it.
All right, I'll say hi to you on Skype.
On that note,
All
Jay,
right.
you were on the top 10 people I wanted to run into at Brony Can. I'm sorry I didn't get a chance.
You were at Brony Can?
Yeah, I went to Brony Con. Not Con.
So,
Oh,
no,
Con. Okay.
Yeah.
dude, you should have hit me up on Twitter. I would have totally.
Were you at Brony Con, Draft?
Yeah, I was there. I tried to go to some panels and then I didn't. I hosted the what was it? I hosted the Who's Line panel. Yep. I did do that, and then I tried to go to the anthology panel to heckle Holler in particular.
Yeah.
But
No, you would have had a hard time heckling me if you got in.
It was, yeah.
Yeah,
I ran into Crown Prince later that night when she came by to drink with us, and she's like, "You weren't at the anthologies panel," and I was like, I forgot.
Well, I ran across the street. I was at like a meet and greet for convention organizers. And I'm like, okay, guys, gotta go to the anthology.
Josh Dean's
Funny
evil
because,
plan the entire time.
Right.
Digi and Tom and all some of their friends were all there too. Despite the fact that they're kind of not really involved in making fan content anymore.
Yeah, I got a chance to actually drink Digi up. He was walking around.
Digi told me about that.
I didn't see it once. I didn't see him once. I should say. I did not see.
Yeah, I didn't see him either.
They didn't. They weren't really around. I know they didn't go to a lot of the panels. They just kind of were there to meet each other. I do know that much, but they were there.
Like
I mean, Nicole Oliver apparently like sang "Happy Birthday" to Digi.
I have a fun story about that. Neil.
There's a video of it. The video of it is up.
No. I've got something better than that. I'm getting an animation done of that.
That's fantastic.
Oh, seriously?
by Crown Prince, right?
Nicole
Yes.
is like
I knew
an
it.
absolute sweetheart. Nicole is awesome.
Yeah, she
Just
is.
by the way, she's amazing.
This is the clincher on that though. I'm talking to Crown Prince. She like priced me a deal for the animation. I was like, all right, I will pay that, but you're singing.
Nice. Okay, well, I mean, just to give some credit where it's due too, like, in terms of people I'm a fan of, I really want to make a big shout out to a couple of musicians.
Absolutely.
JB, and no, not
Jeff
Justin
Burgess?
Bieber. No, not Jeff Burgess.
Justin Bieber.
Oh, we're still
No.
gonna give a shout out to Jeff Burgess anyways.
Turns out he's a Brony. That's the nail in the coffin right there.
God.
Mhm.
No, I mean, JB is, he goes by JAYB. He is a German trance producer, and I'm obsessed with trance music. He is unbelievably good. D Notive is amazing. Who else? I mean, Garnica is awesome. Like, he's a friend of mine too. So
Hey, bro.
Hey, bro. He is hilarious. He and I get along famously.
Still friends with Mando at all?
You know, I haven't really talked to Mando much. He's right now, I think, actually in LA right now on honeymoon with Sibsy. They got married.
Oh, nice.
You know, Mando and I worked together for a while, but we're very different people. And, you know, I think he's an incredibly talented musician, but he's also a lot more introverted than people know. And I think he keeps his circle of people that he likes to keep in contact with pretty small. And so I realized early on I didn't really want to intrude on. So
I got the impression he was also distancing himself from Brony stuff.
He is for sure. But
I was not really following, but I visited his channel at one point just kind of out of curiosity to see what he was up to, and there wasn't much there that was like Brony related. It was like other stuff. So
I'd be an asshole if I didn't mention Black Griffin. That guy's amazing. He's also a friend of mine. He's
You'd
just
still be
amazing.
an asshole either way.
I still remember.
more.
yeah, I got to meet him too at MSP.
He's a really great guy.
Gabrialis Blackest Griffinus. Just, backflippius. There you go.
Yes.
Actually,
Sorry. Sorry.
Reason. I was wondering if I could maybe ask a few questions that I've kind of been wanting to ask.
Oh,
Would you
sure, absolutely.
Yeah.
Impose.
Well, Jeff, this is the first time I've talked to you since last year. And
Yeah, what the heck? Where were you this year?
Come on, Neil. Come on.
I'm sorry, man. It's
Actively avoiding Jay Holler? I don't blame you.
yeah, you got me. He scared me, so
He's
scared
pretty
me.
imposing. He really is.
Well, it's more to the fact that, like we've already said on this cast, most people go to cons because they want to meet their friends, and I don't have like a bunch of friends in the fandom. I'll be just honest about that. So it's not like I'd be meeting a bunch of people I knew if I went to any con. So that's really the reason behind it. But it's nothing personal, and I think I might go back sometime.
I'm going to be eternally insulted. I'm gonna act pretentious and no. Anyway, you had that question.
I wish Tom turned up because I met him there, but he was like sleeping the whole time. I actually came there, and like he was one of the people I came there to see, but he was like sleeping the whole time. So I was like, come on.
Barely,
He's probably,
I admit, I barely
asleep
saw him
right now.
Barely saw him.
Yeah, he's doing a lot. I think he's got a lot going on. But what I was going to ask is that I never actually talked to you after we recorded Elements of Brony back in 2013.
Yeah, that was a while ago.
Yeah, it was a while back. But what did you think of it? First of all,
I believe I watched one of the episodes.
Did you watch the one you were in at all, or did you just sort of go, well, I was there, so I don't need to?
2013 was the peak of everything going crazy. So much happening with EFN and conventions and everything else. It was like non-stop.
Yeah, totally.
So I
Understandable.
that was one of the things. I started dropping the ball in a lot of emails I was getting. Like, people would Skype me and I would read the message and decide, okay, is this something I have to respond to right away? You know, it got really, I had to triage everything I was doing. So I believe, if I remember correctly, I watched at least most of the first one and I thought it was good. And then the world spun out of control.
Right. So you didn't even watch the one that you were in.
I don't even know that I did see the one I was in. I think I saw which one was it?
I remember sending it to you.
It was the second one, right?
I remember you sending it to me. Like, and I felt bad about it because I was like, oh yeah, I forgot I did this, and like there was so much going on that year. I was terrible.
Okay, no, that's understandable. It would be cool if you got a chance sometime now. But what I wanted to say was, to anyone listening who is aware of the elements of Brony, the 10 of you who are, may not know that Final Draft Mike here was actually the first person I ever contacted about that project.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, and so that's just kind of a behind-the-scenes thing. So he was one of the first people who said, hey, was supportive and that it was a good idea.
There are people who know about elements of Brony, Neal. I still remember watching on Jesse Wood's podcast when he was talking to Digi about it. He's like, how come nobody asked me to be on the damn thing?
Yeah, actually, I did have him on for a commentary that we recorded not too long ago. So it was kind of my way of apologizing to him, throwing him a bone. But anyway, another thing I wanted to ask about is, I had no idea at the time about like the controversy that swirls around like your reputation in the fandom, Mike. And I had no idea about that really. And so it was funny because when we released the promotional video for episode 2 on Digi's channel, we released like an ad, like a trailer for it saying, go watch this. And the Final Draft's in it. We got like comments on that promotional video going like, oh, that guy, not that guy.
Most people say that have never met me, or for that matter, we're just basing it off of something they heard. I don't know. I mean,
right. I'm just saying that it was news to me, and so after that point I was like, wow, I never expected that, and then I sort of wanted to investigate what this was coming from.
You know what, the thing I've always said is like, it's like, I think there's like a cadre of really loud people who complain. 4chan hates me.
There's only ever been one person I've met who was half as bad as his reputation, and you're not it.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to talk about, just not you specifically, but just the general topic of this kind of drama. You know, like, my own personal opinion, and I'll just share with you, is that, you know, from what I've seen, I agree with you. Like, a lot of this is just this political, just immaturity.
It's jockeying for stupid. It's jockeying for, like, what, fake internet points?
Well, I mean, no, here's what I would say. You know, like, a lot of the backbiting that I've seen, and I've seen my fair share of it, I mean, even not involving you, just being a spectator to things that happened with Digi and Tom, because, you know, shortly after, you know, Elements of Brony happened, there started to be some negativity towards Tom and Digi, you know, regarding their leaving the fandom or changing their opinions on the show and that kind of thing. I don't know how much you're aware of it. And, you know, just having had a front row seat to some of that, I kind of think that a lot of this backbiting and negativity and rumor mongering and stuff comes from people's own insecurities of being rejected themselves, if you know what I mean.
I think that might be something to do with it. I think a big part of it is that, you know, every group loves a scapegoat. I mean,
people thrive on conflict.
People thrive on conflict. I'm an easy person for, like, I my personality is very much not the standard Brony personality. Yeah. I am forward, I'm direct, I speak forcefully, I mean, so it's easy for people to say Final Draft is a jerk, and then you hear, like, a little sound clip of me saying something that makes me sound like a jerk, and then you throw on top of that some of the more entitled groups out there getting all butthurt because I landed some interview they didn't or whatever. It compounds and compounds. I think the other side to it too is that a lot of Bronies love the idea of being edgy. They like the idea of, you know, I don't know. I think it's why Fallout Equestria is so popular.
Wow, it's funny you should say that. I just did a video on the top 10 edgelords in the fandom.
Well, so you know,
I want to see this now. So now I got direct competition in what I do now. Fuck.
Well, the top 10. Watch out. You got a copyright.
All right.
Fun fact: edgy is Meryl Streep's least favorite word.
Yeah. No, but I mean,
still
like,
alive?
but the thing about
they're full of drugs.
Yeah, right. right? I mean, think about it though. Like, you know, that's why when you go to conventions, there's always someone dressed as Pink Amina with blood all over a doctor's coat. Or like you run to a convention, they love Shed.Mauve, they love Rainbow Factory, which in and of itself is an absurd concept. You know, they like this edgier stuff because you're basically juxtaposing something cute and innocent with something fairly awful. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that Fallout Equestria is an awful fanfic. I know there are a lot of people who love it. I'm just saying, like, it's got more of that violence, that sort of stuff you would never see in the show.
Well, to be fair, I was going to say the fandom's kind of built on that. One of the appeals of the show is that each of the main six, in their own kind of mental way and defects, they're all kind of broken.
Yeah, no, that for sure. I mean, every good show has flawed characters. Don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to say that all of this is blue.
Luna's not perfect, Jesus Christ.
Don't lie to me. Go back to watching your background characters.
My background character kick the shit out of your background character.
Literally, actually.
Yeah, right.
It'd be called like bucking or whatever. Yeah, no. I think what happened was that with EFN, we were the first site to actively try to present, and I will say this quite openly, we were trying to present a website that Hasbro and the Hub would be secure with sharing and working with in terms of interviews and letting stuff happen, like letting special events happen, and I desperately was trying to get like a news feed from Hasbro. I was like, hey, look, I want to help you guys spread information to this fandom, and they would have never even talked to me. They went to my site and they saw like a pony ripped to shreds, or they saw some kind of pony porn. But as a consequence, I mean, what's the number one way to get hated on a lot of social media is to appear to be a censor, and we were not trying to censor the fandom at all.
Or trying to elevate yourself in any way.
You try to make yourself look less than, what's the term, a shitlord? I mean, you try to make yourself look more presentable, you're going to get hated on. And I think that's what ended up happening, is people conflated my forceful personality with the site being run clean, and there became this giant mythos about evil Emperor Draft, secretly skulking behind the scenes, and it's like, okay, whatever, I'll buy it.
As someone who by no means buys into the the rumor or the stereotype of you as this volcano of douchebaggery, just 24/7 spewing it everywhere.
Believe me, he's being professional right now. You should see him off the fucking podcast.
I'll just start belching and drinking more beer.
Yeah, exactly. There you go.
Can I push you on one thing?
Mm-hmm.
And that is, even in this podcast, you've made certain statements that are sort of like blanket characterizations of the fandom, in the sense of, I'm not the standard Brony personality. Statements like that,
Yeah.
Or like, if this fandom is full of, middle school mentality, or a lot of Bronies turned out to not be very smart. Things like that.
Don't get me wrong on that.
I mean, would you blame anyone? I'm just saying, would you blame anyone for getting offended at you painting, a too broad a brush, sort of making generalizations that aren't warranted, or throwing barbed comments out, that kind of thing?
I think if you look at the comments I make and you are looking at it through a lens of Draft is hating on the fandom, then yeah, you can misinterpret that. But bear in mind, when I said a lot of Bronies are aren't very smart, before that I said a lot of Bronies are very smart. In fact, right. I would say the majority are.
I would too.
And like when I say that, I have a personality that isn't the same as most Bronies, I'm basing that off of my experience seeing, the groups of people at various conventions, let alone what I see online. It's a generalization for sure, but we all work in generalizations. And that's not to say it's a judgment. A lot of my friends are very introverted. Some of my best friends from EFN were the types where I would try to encourage them to host an interview, and they would just refuse because they did not want to be recorded, because it was just they wanted to work in the background. So, don't presuppose a judgment behind those statements.
Mm-hmm.
I'm more or less, I am speaking in generalities, but it's not as an accusation.
And just speaking as myself now, when I see someone make comments that I don't necessarily agree with, or I think are being slightly unfair in their wording, I just don't let it really turn into an excuse to have a grudge against that person, if you see what I'm saying. And I think in the end, people do that.
I think in the end, the way I look at it, the way I sleep at night, is that I think the people who, and it's not as many as I think it sounds like, the people who complain are the loud ones. It's like any kind of Amazon review site. The only reviews you end up seeing are the really good or the really bad.
Yeah, absolutely.
Their own interviews or reviews are not there. I think the vast majority of Bronies either just don't give a shit about me, which I don't blame them, or just don't or just, if they do know about work I've done, they just don't care. It's the few loud ones that everyone hears about, the ones that are really obnoxious and over the top, and And I just make it a point myself not to be like that, and I make it a point to realize that's their world. You know, that's like the thing where I heard that my badge was being paraded around at BabsCon. People were like, "Doesn't that make you mad?" Because I was talking to somebody and like, "Damn, man, it was so dumb." Like, yeah, and I just said, "Yeah, it's funny." And they're like, "I thought you'd be madder than that." I'm like, "No, that's their world. That's their cap. That to them is where they get their jollies, right? That's where they get their lulls, whatever, and that's all it will ever be, you know." And it's a maturity issue.
Yeah, I think that is very true.
They've hit their glass ceiling. So you have people who want to hate on me for the work I did with EFN. Fine, hate on me for doing it. Look at the content, though. I mean, I didn't do anything evil to develop it, and, you know, I think we put out the best interviews in the fandom, and it's not arrogant for me to say that. I'm proud of the work that, I should say, interviews of the VAs at the time. I don't think it's arrogant for me to say that. I think it's, it's a point of pride.
Let me offer my vote of agreement with you on that. I mean, when I first got into fandom, your reviews were the ones that impressed me the most. There are countless clips from them in Elements of Brony, because I just thought you got the greatest answers out of them. It was just, and it was professional. It was insightful. It was pleasant to listen to and inviting. I mean, the general YouTube channel. I never really went to your website. I spent time on your YouTube channel because that's what I was doing, watching videos.
The YouTube channel's still there too. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I'm glad to see that it is.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm just saying. You know, it was great interviews. And I guess what I valued.
Well, I appreciate the.
Oh, make sure you leave a link of that in the room so I can put it up on the video.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I mean, so at the end, the people who hate on me, or the the websites or whatever, those guys, that's their glass ceiling, whatever. That's all they're going to have, you know. And if that's their level of humor, if they have to be those middle schoolers, they're just cat calling or whatever, I don't care. You know, I'm proud of the work I did. I know what I did behind the scenes, which was nothing like they like to accuse. And who cares? Like, seriously, who cares? Like, and so yeah, people are like, "Oh yeah, draft." Like, they'll come up to my friends too. They're like, "How can you work with that guy?" It's like, I don't know why anybody works with me.
Yeah, that's a good question. Why did I do all those things?
You were drafted.
Why did I go to the yeah, that's right. Why did I go to the antique store where the current picture of your Skype icon is me taking the picture of that picture?
That's true. That is true.
I took that picture.
It's because it's close to where you live.
Why the fuck did I go to antique stores with you? They're boring as shit.
Say, you've gotten a lot of chance to get an opportunity to talk with show staff. Is there any, either this show related or otherwise, VAs, writers, or animators that you still haven't gotten the chance to meet?
Oh, I got so close to interviewing Weird Al. You guys have no idea. I got so.
Oh, that sounds baller.
I got so close. And I even saw a forwarded email from him saying he was up for the interview. And then, like a jerk, he went and released a Grammy-winning album and like whatever.
What a douchebag, right?
Right? So selfish. No, he released Mandatory Fun right like a week after I was scheduling the interview, and then I get an email from RCA Recording saying, Mr. Weird Al does not have time to, and Mr. Yankovic.
Mr. Weird Al just seems really funny to think.
Yeah, I know. No, they're like, Al doesn't have time for interviews right now. He's currently, heading to LA to film the Tonight Show or something. I mean, I'm not going to argue that. That's so. Let's see.
Actually, excuse me, Mr. Tonight Show, I think we're more important than you. We had this interview first. Go fuck yourself.
Now, Jay, don't play into the generalization I made about some people being entitled.
Oh, please. This is what you call a joke draft. This is what a humorous...
You joke? Since when?
Since I've been joking about you for the past 2 years. You haven't noticed it?
Since you founded Poison Joke Productions LLC.
What was it? So I've never met Kathleen Barr, who's the voice of Trixie.
Chrysalis? Okay.
Chrysalis and Trixie, actually, both.
Oh, okay.
She just does not like. She's very introverted and does not want to meet Bronies, and
I see.
She just likes doing her voice work and then going home at night. That's somebody I've never met. I don't know. There are a lot of people I haven't met. I've met most of the show staff. I won't say all of them. I haven't met all the DHX crew at all. I met a few of them over the weekend in Canada, but trying to think. Yeah, I mean, I did. I don't think I know what's his name? Richard E. Cox. I've never met him.
Oh right, yeah, he does snails.
Snails, yeah. He's busy. Yeah.
Do you think Lauren Faust will ever have anything to do with the Brony convention in the future at all, or is she just totally watching?
Wait. She just got announced today for EQLA.
Yeah.
Seriously?
Yeah. You go check their Twitter.
Yeah.
That's freaking awesome.
Yep, and it's gonna be a pretty epic panel. No, I'm not hosting it. I don't know if they've announced the host yet, but I fully approve of who they're having host. So.
Awesome. That is cool to hear, because I had thought that she was just done because she hadn't been.
It wouldn't have surprised me if she was.
Right.
And, I mean, but at the same rate, I think she just got announced for EQLA, so that's why I'm desperately trying to get out there now.
And John Delancey's come back after a long break from Brony Cons, I know.
Well, he was out for a while. He was out doing a several-month-long yacht trip, if I'm not mistaken. And then,
right, I heard about that. Yeah.
He's going to be at a few conventions. I know he's going to be in Chicago next April for Winnie City, which is one I'm working with. So yeah, it's going to be cool.
Actually, now that before we forget, what was it like working with Brent Hodges on a Brony Tale? I mean,
Brony Tale was fun. I got an email from him early on, and he said, "Hey, I'm a friend of Ashleigh Ball, and she told me that I could find that you could help me find Bronies to interview." And I said, "Huh." And this was right at the time when like National Geographic was trying to get Dusty to appear on Taboo. CBS was trying to get some Bronies on Dr. Phil. So I was a little bit, I was a little bit skeptical. So I went and I actually contacted Ashleigh. I said, "Hey, is this person legit?" And Ashleigh wrote back, "Oh yeah, Brent's a good friend of mine." So I was like, "Okay, this person's legit."
Now, when you do that, exactly what does that mean? Like on Twitter, or how do you contact her?
I contacted her on email.
Okay.
I have her.
So at this point, like, you don't have to go through like a huge rigmarole to talk to them and that kind of thing.
Well, actually, the thing was that when I was talking to him earlier about that rigmarole, I even had contact information. It was to get the official approval. I could have tried to sneak an interview in, but I mean, if you don't have the official approval, well, first of all, they're not going to go for it. So I could talk to him on the phone or whatever and say, "Hey, how's it going?" Blah blah blah. Ask all the questions, but I couldn't record it because they didn't have official approval. So that process was to have Hasbro give the green light on it, which luckily they don't do that sort of crap anymore.
Okay.
And then so working with Brent though, I mean it was fun. He basically was saying he would send me a message, every couple days. He'd be like, "Hey, I'm heading towards South Carolina. Do you know people in this area?" I'll be like, "Yeah, I know this person, this person, this person." Then they'll say, "Hey, I'm in Atlanta, or I'm in Florida, or I'm in California, or I'm in, So he basically did this giant road trip, and he would ask me about who was near where, and I was like, okay, because I know a lot of people across the country, and so he also was asking me, okay, who's interesting to talk to, within the Bronies, show me some diversity or whatever. So I'm like, oh yeah, here's somebody who's very different. Here's somebody else who's very different. Here's somebody who's, and so, he took my recommendations. There are a few people in that film that he found just randomly. Like, there's one scene in there where he's talking to a family in Nova Scotia. He just saw them in a mall. Like, he wasn't even, he wasn't even looking for them. And I had a lot of respect for Brent Hodges' film work because he did the camera work all himself with a DSLR. Like, he just went around and did all the filming himself. He did not have a film crew with him. He didn't fundraise for it. He just did it out of pocket. And I think he produced a really awesome film. I
thought so too. I saw it. I managed to see it, and I thought it was really well done. I was
I'm proud of it because it's the last time you can see me with any amount of hair on my head. But yeah, I mean, it was fun to do, and then I was glad because he asked me if I would do an interview for it. I'm like, oh, for sure. So yeah, it was cool.
You still have contact with him? Is he still interested in the fandom, or like to keeping tabs on how it goes? Or
I think he's interested in the sense of he did make a lot of contacts and friends through the film, but right now he just released a film on Spike TV about Chris Farley called I Am Chris Farley, and so I think he's wrapped up in that right now because he worked with a lot of people, including Chris Farley's brother on that one. And good on him because he's an incredible filmmaker he's a very dedicated, hardworking guy, and I know you hear that about a lot of people, but Brent is a very humble, hardworking, and just talented.
And he's basically like kind of doing this all by himself.
I wouldn't say by himself. He does have a production crew behind him a little bit, like for sound work and whatnot. And
who is this gentleman again?
This is Brent Hodge, the director of Brony Tale.
Oh, okay.
That he just came out with I Am Chris Farley, and he's a good guy. So I occasionally hear from him, but he's so busy right now.
I saw that tweeting. I think you tweeted a picture of all all the guys on the red carpet when it went to Tribeca, I think.
Yeah, we were all there. It was crazy.
Yeah, that was really cool.
Here's the funniest part about that whole thing was that I met Morgan Spurlock there, and he's the guy behind Super Size Me. And he and his crew were way into this film. Like, they love the whole idea of bronies. They weren't bronies themselves. They had this after party after the premiere where everybody showed up, and a lot of people showed up trying to cosplay as bronies. It was really weird. It was
cosplay
like
as bronies?
Yes, it was really weird because they all were like trying to.
That's so meta.
It's very weird. It was like the cool thing of the moment to look like you were a brony. So like a bunch of these New York film guys are suddenly there in like rainbow wigs and brony t-shirts, and one of his producers was wearing a necklace with a Rarity figurine on it, and I looked at it for a second and I pulled him aside with Morgan. I said, hey, I just wanted to let you know something. You know where that toy came from? He goes, what? I'm like, it came from McDonald's. And Morgan goes, oh, I haven't eaten there since the film, don't even ask the question. But he was a really nice guy. He's
fascinating.
It's a funny story about that. I remember I worked at McDonald's a couple years ago, and I was like, "Why did you guys get rid of Super Size in the first place?" Like
that film.
My manager pulls me aside quietly and says, "Go look up Super Size Me." And I did.
That film will make you stop eating McDonald's for like a year. Like, it's like watching Hoarders, and excuse me, I'm going to open a beer here. No, it's like watching Hoarders. Where you watch one episode and suddenly you want to clean out everything. That film, don't want McDonald's after that.
So, well, actually, let's. How about
can I pinch one back
sorry.
real quick?
Yeah.
For
I mean to steal your podcast from.
Oh yeah, I noticed that. I had someone comment to me a minute ago, and I was like, "Oh, don't worry, Neal's going right now." Let's see, what's the most tedious part of the convention for you? Something you wish you could skip entirely.
Do you mean if I'm working on the convention, or?
Yes, working on it.
Most tedious part. I don't know. I mean, I can't really think of anything there that's tedious. It's just busy the whole time. Like my role in the convention, it doesn't get tedious. If I'm doing the same thing for too long, something's going wrong. So, I mean, if a convention is running well, you're not going to have tedium. Like, even amongst the staff. Like, I would say, if, like, last year I helped out with registration. That took me some time. That was maybe tedious, but it didn't even feel tedious. I don't really think I can think of anything that's tedious at a con, because it's just too busy.
Say, one more thing, though. As far as online harassment, past or present, when did that really start?
I don't know. Probably 5 minutes after we released our first podcast.
Welcome to YouTube.
Yeah. I think it really started in earnest probably mid-2012, and that was right around when I was fighting to get panel hosting, and really when I was trying to, for a while I was trying to convince conventions that, streaming made sense. Live streaming conventions cost money. Right now, it doesn't make sense because it's not novel anymore. It's not new. People don't really watch the live streams. But early on, like the 2012 conventions, there were thousands of people watching.
Yeah, I can imagine.
And so,
your Candlelight Gardens voice actor panel has like close to 1 million views or something.
There's only one reason that's true, and that's because the thumbnail is Tara Strong sticking her leg in the air. Yeah,
I know.
For a while I was trying to convince.
They were all me.
That's right. You're just like, come on, pause it. Yeah, for a while I was trying to convince every convention that live streaming would be an investment for them, which at the time I thought it was, the case, because I have found out from a lot of people that the only reason, like, there was one guy actually this year at Brony Can who came up to me. He came all the way from Australia based on the recordings we had done at previous conventions. He's like, I want to let you know, Draft, that I'm here right now in the States for the first time because I watched your videos. There was one guy from, I want to say the National Guard, who served a tour in Afghanistan. And he said that he couldn't go to Brony Con in 2013, but because we had that stream, he was able to watch it, and he felt like he was there. I mean, that's what matters.
So did I.
Yeah. So, I mean, for a while there, I was telling different conventions, hey, you really ought to stream this. I want a streaming contract, because live stream bandwidth at events, you have to have a certain amount, and without a certain amount of bandwidth, you can't have an HD stream. It's just not possible. And that costs money on the venue side. It's not something that we wanted to pay for. nor should we have to, because it was a promotional tool. I mean, Everfree Northwest 2012 and 2013, those videos, I know from people telling me, encourage people to attend 2014. So my negotiations on that, though, led some people to get mad because there were some people who kind of tried to half-ass it. They came in and they said, well, wait a second. Draft and EFN are getting all of these panels and they're getting all of this, these contracts for streaming, but I have a webcam and a laptop. Why can't I get a dedicated internet line and panels? And it was entitled. There were some groups like that, and I called it out very unpopularly, and I said, these guys don't know what they're doing. Like, I'd be in meetings. I'm like, do you actually know what you're doing? And they're like, well, we can figure it out as we go. I'm like, no, we know what we're doing. Let me show you. We had one meeting with one convention where they were juggling between, and no, I'll just say it was Brony Can 2013. Mm-hmm. They put it up for a bid process to see who was going to live stream the event. And I said, okay, look, we've got the most experience. You really should hire us, but we're willing to go up against, some other bids. That's fine. We'll prove ourselves. And there was one guy there who literally said he was going to bring, I think, a handy cam and a laptop. There was one group there that was talking about having 5 or 6 cameras available. We decided in the middle of the Skype call to live stream 8-track, walk outside his front door and walk around the front yard from one of our cameras in HD. We're like, here's a link. We're live streaming right now. That's how easy it is for us. We kind of, and that, you show that you're more prepared, but then people get resentful. And I think that was a big source of a lot of that, was that your original question is, where did the drama start? I think it's because people got resentful that we were doing things they couldn't.
Well, I was told you paid for the right to stream for one specific convention.
No, we didn't.
Oh,
we never did. No, we never paid for the right to stream. The only thing we've ever paid for was our own travel expenses. We were not paid. The only, and there have been documents, and some of them are just bullshit, but documents leaked, whatever, and they're like, hey, you've got these contracts with all this money. We had contracts a few times for conventions that wanted us to do more than our equipment would allow for AV rental. So there were conventions where we had contracts to rent equipment, and we put some of that in, and also it was understood, towards travel to get people out there. But we weren't paid per hour. We weren't, and we were not paying for exclusivity or anything like that. The trick is, the problem is that most venues, I mentioned the bandwidth issue, most venues only have so much bandwidth that they can offer. They may have a maximum of 5 megabytes down. And if that's the case, you can't afford to have 4 concurrent streams because none of them will work. So for a while there were certain groups that were trying to say it's not fair that EFN gets to stream this con. We want bandwidth too. And I had to explain the convention can't afford the bandwidth for both of us. Now, there was also, for example, Fiesta Equestria 2013, where their venue has just, obscene amounts of bandwidth. And in that case, it wasn't even an argument. I didn't even argue that PVL stream at the same time as we did because it didn't affect things. So, yeah, but that became a rumor mill that people are like, oh, they're trying to get exclusivity. No, we're fighting for resources. There's only limited resources, and if we're going to stream this con, it might as well be the group that knows how to do it. And it's not, there wasn't room for, every single person who had a podcast and a camera to film everything and have it put online right away. That makes sense.
No, I totally understand. Again, I personally don't even really see the major... I always find that live footage there's just so many problems with it, and I like the chance to go back and clean it up myself because I'm anal retentive.
Well, we had some people on our staff just like that too. But
well, it's funny because nowadays, are there really any organizations out there streaming the cons video-wise?
There are some.
In a professional manner.
Professional manner is definitely a
subjective
thing. No,
I'm just saying because most of what I've seen is just random people with their cameras.
Well, it's because in 2014 I live streamed MLP MSP. I didn't do it. I mean, I shouldn't say I had. EFN decided to live stream it just because, well, it was a convention I was working, so it was very easy to coordinate. And I think our max viewership at any given time was 130 people, which is not much. It's not worth that extra effort and time and setup and everything. Just record the panels and post them later. Right now, streaming isn't worth it.
Right.
I will say that openly.
Right.
I'm sorry. Does any group stream right now at all? Like,
I think TVL did for a while, but last I heard, they ran into the same problems we did, where it just gets too expensive.
I mean, about to say, like, when was the last con they streamed? Because they apparently are. I think they're still around, but I don't.
Well, they're around. I don't know.
pay attention to them. So.
Yeah, I don't either. I mean, when's the last time anybody actively went and tried to watch a con stream? It's not interesting anymore.
Yeah, people barely watch any kind of con videos, no matter how short you make them.
I will say this as the head of the former Everfree Network. If EFN was still around today, I would not be pushing any convention for streaming because it no longer has a captive audience. I wouldn't be wasting my time.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Interesting. So, but as for con attendance, how is that? I mean, are people still... I mean, I heard Digi told me that apparently this Brony Con was the biggest so far in terms of...
Yeah, it was.
Right.
Yeah, cons are still growing, no doubt about it.
I think it is. Again, the fandom is so tightly knit, and I remember from last year, con actually fell directly right on my birthday, and I had so many online friends like constantly taunting me. Hey, you could have rode in the trunk. You could have came with us. And I'm like, you know what? No, I'm not doing this 2 years in a row. I'm gonna go there, have a terrible time, never want to go back. Went there. No, it was pretty damn good. I kind of wish it wasn't because it's expensive as hell. I really wish
conventions are addictive.
You know our pain right now. Hotel, air, well, not for me, but airfare for most people, and just the general expenses of, vendor hall, food, whatever. And it's just like, great.
It adds up.
Oh God, yeah. And
it adds up. Yeah.
You've been to 21. I've been to I don't think that many. But at least 15, at least. And it's like, Jesus Christ, it's expensive.
But you go for the people. Again, you go for the people. And especially in an internet-based fandom, I mean, it's a really good opportunity for people who live in disparate parts of the country or the world to meet together. So
and speaking of the world, like, I mean, there are cons popping up in, like, every country. Like, there's one in the Czech Republic now.
France, Japan has one.
Germany has two.
Have you gone overseas for any, or
this? Brony Can was the first time I've been to a foreign con.
Oh right, okay, you said.
I almost went to GalaCon last year, and then money.
Yeah, right. Then that brought right back into your.
And then the IRS called.
Oh yeah, right.
You can't go to Germany, sir. We need you.
We're still waiting for your 2013 tax returns.
Yeah, right.
Oh yeah, right.
Have you traveled abroad for any of these conventions? Draft?
Me? No, like I was just saying, I've only been to one foreign convention. That was Brony Can last weekend.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's right.
But I've traveled abroad a lot in my own time.
But the show staff is going all over the place.
Oh yeah,
they get paid to do it. That's
exactly. They get
for them.
One time I had what was it? The Brony. I think it was BronyCon Russia. That's what they called it. They invited me last year. They said, "Hey, it'd be great if you could go." And I said, "Oh, great! I've been to Moscow before because I have." And I was like, "What can you do to help me get out there?" And this is in the middle of the Crimean situation too. And I was like, and they said, "We'll help you with your travel visa." Now that's about $100. A flight out to Moscow is about $2,000. I'm like, I don't think so.
Yeah, that's horrible. $2,000 to go freeze my ass off.
Wait, did you say $100,000?
$2,000.
No,
$2,000. Oh, okay.
$2,000's nothing to laugh at, though. Jesus.
Yeah.
No, absolutely not. But yeah.
Round trip, right?
Those are
not one way.
Edward Snowden prices.
Funny you mentioned that part. There was that second other con in Germany, not GalaCon. I forget what it's actually called because I haven't.
I don't remember.
But you know what I'm talking about. The one it's in Berlin.
It wasn't Brony Days, was it? What was it called?
I don't know. Brony Days is France. I don't. Either way, so they actually contacted me about, do you want to be guest at the con? I'm like, that would sound cool. And they're like, they said, guess you'll get a kick out of this draft. They'll say like, we heard you can fly yourself out there.
Well, let me go hop on my private jet IMJ Howard.
Okay, so the background behind it is that I work for an airline and I get actually reduced rates for international travel. But that's the only reason. I was like, I need guaranteed travel because the travel that they're thinking of is standby travel, which is not guaranteed.
No, it's not.
No, and so I was like, can you get back to me about guaranteed travel, and they're like, yeah, totally. Never got back to me. So it's basically, it's a convention. They're penny pinchers by nature.
You have to be. If you're running a con, you have to be. And
I know.
I'll make a quick statement.
Yeah.
Not rant about this.
Oh.
If conventions gave everyone what they deserved, no convention would ever occur.
There'd be no conventions.
There'd be no conventions.
That's true. No, but I'm just saying, like, they asked. That's my own personal experience with any kind of foreign con was that.
Well, I think Brony Can's a little bit different in that.
I could. Okay, so here's the difference between Germany Con and Brony Can.
Yeah.
For me personally, like my discounts, I only have to pay like $30 to go to Canada, which is like you're just like fuming at me right now, just like
holler,
you son of a bitch. Yeah,
holler. We don't worry about such things.
I know. Germany would be a smite bit more expensive, but just
a bit, yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, that's it.
Awkward pause.
So, do you ever foresee the show staff getting tired of coming to these things? Are they coming less, or I mean?
Nope.
I was kind of curious.
No, imagine going to a convention.
It's a paid vacation for them, right?
It's a paid vacation.
Why would you ever get tired?
And they have swarms and swarms of people who adore them. I mean, why would you not?
Bare minimal, you sell your autograph for $20 too.
Well, bear in mind, a part of that goes towards the event, part of that, depending on contracts, part of that goes towards their agent. So they don't get like $20 personally each unless they have a certain contract for it. But yeah. Yeah, it's one of the major ways that conventions fund themselves, by the way, is a cut of autographs. It's the only way you can really do it. It's a huge source of debt relief.
Is the goal of a convention financially to like break even or make a profit? I mean,
my goal in a convention is to make a profit, but the problem is when you say that, everybody thinks, "Oh, you're cutting corners." No, the best way you make a profit at a convention is by making it an amazing event that everybody wants to go to. So,
hey, Draft, how many times have you made a profit in your last two conventions that you've done?
I spent $500. I was $500 down after this one. Bear in mind, this is like a local con for me.
Exactly.
Same thing this time.
What I'd heard is that the profits that you make go up to make up the losses for the next con.
That's 100% true. I have not ever received. I've never received a single dollar from any convention work I've ever done. So, but I mean, that being said, I love doing it, obviously, and I'm now working with 4 conventions. One of them is an anime con. That's going to be new.
So the more you do it, does it become easier? I mean,
you learn more. I mean, it's like anything else, but the other side to it is that part of the fun of conventions is you never know what the hell is going to happen.
But there hasn't been another LPU, has there?
There's
anything rising to that level?
Close. There's been like
before they even started, right?
Well, then there was one that
was sweet. Well, that was Sweet Apple Acres, aka Road Trip South Dakota. Woohoo!
Hey, that wasn't a bad road trip.
No, it wasn't. But anyways, but I'm saying like there's a few that have just there's been cons that have been kind of like we're gonna have a con. Oh no, our venue's canceled on us. And
we're gonna have a con, and we don't have any money, but we'll get by on the well wishes of the Brony community. If Sweet Apple Acres didn't happen. You ever hear of Appaloosa Con?
Was that in Phoenix?
Yes.
Yeah, I know what you're. I actually had someone contact me about that con. You want to the age of the kid who contacted me? He's like, he mentioned it in his mail to me. He was like 15.
Yeah.
Like why am I being contacted by a 15-year-old for a convention?
There are some people who are really young trying to start this stuff, and they just don't know what they're doing.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's see. Then there's
there's an idea for a top 10 top 10 failed Brony conventions.
Dude,
we already know what number 1 is. What's the point?
No, when you get to number 1, instead of saying number 1 LPU, you should say Plan J Plan H. Or whatever.
Outer space.
No, anybody who looked at LPU's website before it went down, they had like 20 or so sponsor plans that you could buy into. And they were all lettered. Anyway,
fun fact: I almost went to LPU. Would you know? Like, it was so strange to me when the first I heard of the disaster was when you guys posted that Titanic video to the EFN YouTube channel, and I was like, what the hell happened?
I don't know what you're all talking about. I loved LPU. I left on Saturday, but after that, I don't know what happened.
Didn't you? No, you.
I literally left on Saturday. I left Saturday during the afternoon.
That's right.
Before anything happened, I was like, it was an okay convention, and then I get home and all these videos are like, Oh my god, what happened?
Oh, LPU. LPU was the biggest headache I've had in a long time. I mean, as in literally, I had a headache the whole time.
It looked like it.
Was
I
it
remember
the,
watching you. It was you and Lee Tokar. Like
Everyone talks about that video, and I knew when I was making it that was going to be the thing everyone remembered. Like, it was...
I remember it, but I remember it's like these guys are heroes. But I was like, but they looked so. You guys looked so like, oh man, like
Disheveled.
you were feeling like it was like embarrassed. You know, like
We
it's
were
like
at
I
a
can't believe we
party.
have to do this.
We were at a party at 1 a.m. the night before, and everybody thought things were running well, and the agents pulled us aside in a room and just broke the news. Guys, this convention has failed. Like, they do not have any money. They can't even pay their venue. They don't have any money for the VAs. People are going to start getting kicked out of their hotel rooms. And this was at 1 a.m. So, imagine trying to go to bed knowing that, because I had a contract with LPU that and several other media groups did too. They included a comped hotel. Well, what ends up happening? My card got charged $1,400 for the rooms for EFN out of nowhere. There were some musicians that were, from out of town, whatever, that had just put down cards as incidentals, and, the Riviera charged them and ended up overdrawing their accounts, and some people were stranded from Europe with no money to get home. It was a nightmare.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was like 1 a.m, so by the time you finally fall asleep after hearing all this, knowing you're going to have to wake up to hell, I think it was like 3, 4 in the morning, then I had to get up at like 7 to make sure that everything was operating, and then I had to coordinate with Lee so that we could do that announcement video. And it's one of those things you never wanted to actually do as a live streamer. Like, I wasn't supposed to be live hosting the live stream, but I finally just said, okay, well, we got to do this. So I turned to Lee, and I'm like, how are we going to go about this? So we talked about it, and then, made that announcement video. Both of us had next to no sleep, and by that point I had a raging headache. And
Yeah. You guys looked like you wanted to be doing anything else but that.
I wanted to just say screw everything, go next door to the Wynn, and just gorge on the buffet or something.
Go to that buffet. Hey, fun fact: the
Especially
Riviera.
for the win.
Fun fact about the Riviera, where the venue was hosted. It's not it no longer exists anymore.
Yeah, they tore it down.
Good. Yeah, tear down all the memories. All the memories are gone.
Thanks for the memories.
Only
It
left
never happened.
Only left is the Indian Brony burial ground underneath the
Indian Brony burial ground. Oh my god! No, like I imagine as that building came down, like a
Graveyard of
puff,
pony dreams.
Yeah.
I just imagine like a puff of debris and vendor bucks came floating up into the area.
Oh my god.
I remember you probably know what an Encyclopedia Dramatica is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I remember they did an article on LPU, of course.
I
How could they
love-
resist?
Go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, no, I read through it. It was hilarious. I mean, just
curiosity.
some of the images and stuff.
You know what though? LPU was incredibly useful in that it set the bottom bar for this thing. like it told everyone what not to do.
Right.
Oh my
It
God.
basically you could when I'm not joking. The first time I met with the guys who were starting up what now is MLP MSP, including my co-chair Chase and the head of security Jared, and those guys are great, by the way. They're awesome. That's why I've worked with them for 3 years. The first time I met them, I said, so, you want to start a Brony convention? They're like, yeah, Minneapolis doesn't have one. We really should have one. And I said, let me tell you a story about LPU. This was the first part of the conversation of the first time I ever met them. And I told them every horror story from LPU. And I said, can you promise me none of this would happen? And they're like, yeah, this is all stupid crap that should never have occurred. And I'm like, I agree. And then we were able to go from there. And so it's nice because there's that fear of LPU grade failure. Events out there are trying harder.
They have motivation not to do that. Yeah.
So it did do that.
The people who ran it were literally clowns. Literally clowns.
I know.
I thought that was great.
The other thing you got to remember too, though, is that I think that if LPU hadn't happened, it would have been some other convention. It would have been some other kind of event that would have flunked out. And anyway, I just remember that I did a live stream the Tuesday after the convention, because I was getting a flood of messages like, what happened? So Saber and I did a live stream. Saber was asking questions and I was answering them about what happened at LPU, just to try to explain what we knew. And right before the live stream started, and this is up on EFN, I imagine, Neal, you're the type who probably watched this thing.
I might have.
Yeah. Just before it aired, I got a call from Sandy's husband, Eddie, and he was like, Draft, Mike, he was like trying to appeal. He goes, I really have to ask you not to spread rumors. And I said, excuse me? Rumors? What kind of rumors might we be talking about? Where's the money, Eddie? I actually just said that to him. I'm like, where did the money from the charity auction or whatever go? And they figured that part out later, but I'm like, where did all the money from your sponsor dinner go?
Did you do it like Jesse from Breaking Bad? Bitch, where's my money?
No,
where's my money?
Well, it wasn't my money, so I wasn't saying that. But like I was saying, like, and he's like, well, Draft, we're trying to figure things out. I really have to ask you, please don't spread rumors. I said, look, I'm going on air, and at the time it was like half an hour beforehand. I said, I'm going on air in half an hour. You have half an hour to make a comprehensive post online to explain what the hell happened before I go on air and tell exactly what I know. And I'm like, and I'm gonna go on air either way. So if you want to tell your side of the story, now's your chance. And he goes, I said, Eddie, I don't have time to talk right now. I gotta get ready for my interview, and I hung up on him. I'm like, I don't have time for you. This community has to move. This community has to move on. And that was the last time I ever heard from any of them. I don't know what the hell they're up to now.
Right.
I was going to say, the rumors they went to Mexico. Is that true? Who knows at this point?
I don't know. I really don't.
Interesting. Because at that point, all you cared about was trying to get the VAs compensated and stuff.
Well, by that point, we had done it. Like, when I was back in Minneapolis at that point, and the fans raised like $15,000 and flew all the VAs back. It was incredible. I mean, this fandom is incredible. Yeah.
I saw a tweet from M.A. Larson recently that said that apparently since its inception, the fandom has raised a total of $1 million for charity.
I believe it entirely.
Yeah. Wouldn't be surprised at all.
The what was it? Well, during the convention though, I mean, I was coordinating, and I was not the only one. This was one of those weird times where everybody who generally hated each other was working together because we all knew this could be it could spell the end of Brony conventions. So myself and Equestria Daily and PVL and Bronyville and every other group out there, and Derpy Hooves News at the time, we were all working together on it. So when the account was finally finished, it was about $15,000 we raised in a matter of about 12 hours, which is incredible. And Sandy got a wind of that. And so she came up to me with the hotel manager on the Sunday afternoon and said, Draft, I heard that you guys raised this money. We really could use some help paying the bill for the hotel. I looked at her and I'm like, excuse me? And the hotel manager had the audacity to turn to me and go, we have an $18,000 bill that hasn't been paid. And I looked at her, I'm like, that's none of my concern. This is not your money, nor it's the conventions. This is money going towards the voice actors, and I don't have time for this, and I just walked away. Just the sheer audacity of that.
I remember that. Yeah, I remember hearing about that.
That's all right. You can just picture, where's that Riviera hotel manager? What's his job these days? Not the Riviera hotel manager anymore.
Maybe she's over at the Wynn working the buffet. I don't know.
Yeah.
I remember looking it up, and apparently, like, Nevada has like a reputation as having the shadiest business practices of any state.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Not surprised.
They pulled some stunts. Again, they charged a lot of people on their incidental cards for the entire room cost, and I think the worst thing that happened that I remember is there was this guy Carlos who was from Mexico City. He was 17. He had just graduated high school down there, and his parents sent him to LPU as a reward trip. And they bought one of the $1,500 sponsor packages, which came with like $100 in vendor bucks, like a T-shirt, a comped room suite, access to the VIP upstairs lounge, which is some garbage because if anybody, I know Holler was up there at one point. I mean, it's nothing that amazing. And then they had, I think he had like, what else? Some autograph vouchers, that sort of thing. As soon as the convention collapsed, his hotel room got charged to his card because they had never paid for it. So basically he ended up paying for his hotel room twice. All of his vendor bucks were suddenly worthless. It was terrible. But lucky for him, like the Kriebers were there and they took him out to dinner and hung out with him for a bit. So I mean, there was some good from it. But I think one of the saddest moments for me was when Ohad.
Ohad was there. Huh?
Ohad was there and he came up to me. He goes, Draft, in his voice. He's like, Draft, can you tell me what's going on with the hotel rooms? I told a lot of things, and he did not know the convention had failed. I had to sit him down. I said, Ohad, take a seat. Actually sat him down. I'm like, this convention failed, and they are going to charge you for your room. And he goes, no, I paid. No, the draft. No, he's like, but I paid for my package, and I said that doesn't matter to this hotel because they never got paid. And it was like the worst conversation because I knew it wasn't my fault, but I felt like I was like the doctor saying, "I'm sorry."
Yeah,
I'm sorry. Dog down. Baby LPU died. In stillborn, right? It's terrible, but it was what it was. LPU was a low point for the fandom. It's why everybody who was there talks about it incessantly. I really do think if anybody deserves medals, I think anybody who attended and survived that con deserves a medal for that.
Did they ever make those T-shirts? I survived.
And all I got was this crappy T-shirt.
Yep, they did make those.
Oh, they did.
And then what was it? It was.
Do you have any? Are there any like juicy tidbits you could share about like the staff reactions? Were they any of them really pissed privately, or?
I think a lot of them were worried, especially when they found out that they were going to have to somehow fly themselves home. Early on, they didn't know how they were going to. Their agents were there. Here's the stupidest thing this is why I don't know how much of this was planned and how much of this was Sandy's idiocy. They flew the agents out there. So the agents were at the convention. So
why would they even? Wow.
Well, the agents wanted to be there because it's Vegas. It's a vacation location.
Right.
But they were there, and so all of the voice actors didn't have to make a bunch of calls home to talk about the situation. The agents were right in the thick of it. And I don't understand why they would try to get them out there if they were going to try and scam. But at the same rate, where's that money?
Mm-hmm. Spare no expense, I guess, is what
the con failed because they brought out 25 people. They brought 25 special guests. Even Brony Can now, who they're the biggest event. I think the most they've ever brought out was like 10, and that makes sense because
how many people did they bring out this time?
I don't know what the number is, but it was a reasonable number.
Seemed like more than 10, but either way, yeah.
Either way, they can afford to.
Right, well, that's true.
Like, as a mid-size con, MLP MSP probably can't bring more than 4 or 5 VAs, but that's because that's our size. I often talk about Cloudsdale Congress being a really well-run small con. They only had about 300 people there, but they brought, like, I think they brought like 2 or 3 VAs, and that was it. But that's all they could afford, but that's all they needed, because that's the size of the event.
Funny you said that. I saw someone with a Cloudsdale Congress shirt at Brony Can.
Don't blame them. It was a fun con.
But they haven't happened since, have they?
No, it hasn't. I don't think it's due to...
It's like Midwestria, man. Midwestria was a great run con,
God, I know it.
But they've only did it once, and then they were like, we can't do it again. So.
That's because Midwestria was a subset of Kotaku Con, and they didn't turn a profit because they didn't tell enough people it was happening. They're in Chicago.
It was Chicagoland, which is like 45 minutes from where I lived when I used to live down there, and that's about an hour from the city itself. It wasn't Chicago.
But
you were there.
I know, but it was close enough.
And it's just like what the new Chicago Con's doing, which is Schaumburg.
Well,
that was the first question I had. I was like, "Oh, we're having a con in Chicago." I was like, "Okay, is it Chicago or is it Schaumburg?" And then they're like, "Yeah, it's Schaumburg." I'm like, "Yep, I knew it."
Well, to be fair, as the program director of that convention,
Schaumburg's a really nice area. I know.
Area. Yeah.
It's got a giant Woodfield Mall. Great. Like I said, I'm trying to go to that.
I think that'll be a good con either way. Yeah. But so juicy tidbits. I'm sorry. Could you repeat the question though? Because I got completely sidetracked. You said juicy tidbits.
My bad. Sorry.
Just about the reaction of show staff or voice actors when they found out.
The agents were pissed off.
Mostly the agents.
Well, no, I think they all were upset. I know that Tara Strong was furious. I don't blame her.
Well, there was that story about someone getting left at the airport. Was it Tara or?
That's a different convention.
That was a different convention.
I think, but I would not be surprised if some of the show staff got left at the airport on the way in. They were poorly run. It was very disorganized. Mm-hmm. Now, I know that whenever I talk publicly about how bad LPU was, somebody from the LPU staff hears who was trying to do their job, gets mad because it sounds like I'm crapping on the staff entirely. I'm not. There were people who worked for LPU who were not crap, who were volunteers from the local group, and they did, and some of them, like a friend of mine, Drew, have gone on to... okay, I see the chat, by the way. This can go off the record, whatever. It's entirely me. I ran forever.
Oh no, it's still on the record, very much so. Say it.
No, I ran too much. No, that's why this is ran too long. No, there's some people who came out of that convention that ended up working other cons and doing a great job at them and all that. So don't get me wrong. I don't think LPU, its entire organization, was to blame. It was Sandy and it was Eddie. And it was their sheer idiocy. And I think everybody else, myself included, thought that if you're going to sign all these contracts, you're legally obligated to abide by them, which I guess they didn't end up doing. So
it was a good lesson for the con, if nothing else.
Well,
for the fandom, that's right.
Since we're wrapping up, I just thought I'd ask. You didn't. This hasn't been unpleasant, has it?
I am in tears right now. I've balded further. You can't tell, but I'm now a shiny chrome dome like Josh Dean, and I'm I'm just torn inside. I'm usually sweaty. It's what you get for being two Slendermen.
I was just gonna ask because I remember I think I talked to one of your peers to come on the show. I think it was Dusty Cat, and he's like, "Oh, I try and keep a certain image," and I'm like, "Am I that scummy? What the hell?" You're
not that scummy, but I mean, this part you might want to put off the record. I will say that your YouTube page, at one point you were making a point of talking about and she's got a certain reputation around her, so sling crap around, and
I have no idea where you're coming from on this, because I love hating people.
You know what?
It is my favorite thing to do when I wake up in the
Wait,
morning.
that's Neal X talking, right?
Now, if you hear me while I'm on the road, if we were conducting this interview while I was driving, you might have heard me hating on people then. That definitely.
Before we do end up, I actually did have just one basic question. It's like, what about the show? You know, that thing that this is all based on?
Oh, you mean you mean Little's Pet Shop?
Yeah. What do you think about? What do you think about the pets? You still watch them?
Oh, you mean Steven Universe? No.
Oh man.
What was it? Yeah, I do watch it. I watch the episodes when they come out. I think season 5 is way better than season 4, and season 4 was way better than season 3. I think the movies are hideously predictable, but that's to be expected.
That is kind of girls, but there's an actual now Pony proper movie.
Yeah, they're working on that. Yeah.
We might live to see it.
You know what I'd like to see?
You're like one of me. I'm like one of those. I'm one of the people who actually thinks the show has been steadily improving in quality.
I think most people that I've talked to think that. I mean, they've been putting in more effort. I mean, there's obviously people who disagree, but I would say, like, I really want to see, like, in terms of Equestria Girls, and this is just me throwing this out there, something less serious talk. They have shown Twilight going through the mirror twice now, going into this world of Camelot High. I would love to see one, or at least even a scene or two, like a part of the movie where the girls from the high school go the other way and come to Ponyville, and they have to figure out what being a pony is. Like, I think that would be kind of cool.
Yeah, totally.
I mean, it doesn't have to be a whole movie, because I know they're trying to sell dolls.
I think it might happen, yeah.
But it would be cool as a segment of a movie. Like, it would be really neat to see, like, alternate Twilight accidentally go to, to Equestria. And, there's no reason they couldn't switch between the two.
Well, if Pinky met Pinky, I think the world would implode.
I get the feeling the two of them would look at each other, just nod and move on. Like, they would just understand, oh yeah.
That'd be great. That'd be great.
I imagine they've already met each other knowing that.
Well, she already cloned herself, and it was basically like that, so I guess...
Well, yeah, kind of. I think, though, I think it would be really interesting. That, to me, I always love shows where it's people in a weird world. So I was originally excited for Equestria Girls, but they don't really deal with that difference very long. Twilight, by the end of the movie, is trying on different dresses or whatever. Like, it's nothing. I mean, I would still, if I was some kind of pony and, like, looking at my hand, I would be freaked out for months, if not years. It's just weird, right?
So what do you think about the fan service episode?
Oh, I thought it was hilarious.
Okay, yeah. I thought it was fun. Yeah.
I thought it was really fun. I really liked that they did give Derpy a voice, finally, and that it was Tabitha again.
Yeah. It was the voice we wanted, right? Or people wanted.
That episode did about everything right, in my opinion.
Yeah, if you're going to do that.
If you're going to go that all the way out, you should, just do it that way. Yeah.
And you must have loved that Luna one.
I liked it a lot. I mean, I will say, well, I mean, I guess, yeah, I did like it. I'm trying to think, like, I was a little bit annoyed that Luna was still punishing herself, but then at the same rate.
But they actually addressed it.
Well, they addressed it, and the other side to it, too, is in terms of character development, it makes sense. It just, I guess, to me, I was like, really? You didn't figure that out yet? But I understand it.
Right.
So.
Well, we got to hear Dear Princess Luna for one.
Yeah, that was nice. I'm going to use that soundbite for everything forever. No. No, I like Luna. She's my favorite pony because she is, she has both this responsibility but also this past that she has to overcome, and I think that's really fascinating.
Low standards.
Wow.
You know what?
Jay, you troublemaker.
He was gonna let you share his body pillow, but that's all over now.
Yeah, Jay, you're never gonna get my Dakimakura.
Oh, really? You think that? You think you're...
You don't have room.
You want to go check your closet right now? Is the Dakimakura still there? Because last I remember, I kind of snatched it the other week, and
I tried to check your closet to see if it was there, and I got buried in a mountain of plushies. Just saying.
Rightfully so. You shouldn't have opened the door that has a sign that says "Don't open. You will be collapsed by a mountain of plushies."
Some of them had a very odd smell.
But some people don't know how to read. Now, do they, Draft?
Well, you know what? It was written in like crayon chicken scratch, like a 4-year-old. How am I supposed to understand that?
Because you're the only other people who would have.
There was macaroni and glitter glued to it.
I would actually only think the only people who would go after a crayon drawing that says "Don't open this fucking door" would be people of a 4-year-old. So congratulations, you've given your intelligence that of a 4-year-old. Congratulations, motherfucker.
See, I got him a thermometer. I haven't had a chance to hand it to him yet.
Where's my thermometer?
I keep giving Jay Haller shit. I gave him not both
literally shit, figuratively and literally, almost.
I gave him an old fan I had, and then what else I gave? I bought him his first floor lamp for his living room because he didn't have one.
Thank you.
You're welcome. It's garbage now.
It's okay.
No, I got him a thermometer, and I'll have to take a picture of it. And it's from Applejack brand chewing tobacco, and it says fresh and delicious.
Oh my god!
And I want it.
I have it. It's right here.
Fuck, man, give it to me through the monitor.
Well, I think we've come to the end here. I've had a lovely time. I have to wait like 9 more business days for a copyright bullshit claim to strike fall, and that'll give me plenty of time to edit this bad boy.
Copyright claim bullshit to fall.
What did you play? Music? Or...
No, some jerk that I called out on harassment. It's like, you used my artwork. I'm going to copyright strike you. And I'm like, well, I doubt you're going to take me to court, so...
You got leak fished. I'm sorry about that.
There's a lot of false flagging. It's being totally abused.
I definitely am glad that I did not even talk to her at Brony Can, because I was like, I heard about all this stuff, and I'm like, I had nothing to do with it. I'm like, hands up.
It's Brony drama I had nothing to do with.
Yeah. Yay!
You're like finally able to say, yay, I finally did it. I finally have not involved with the Brony drama once.
It's been happening a lot more since EFN shut down, so yeah.
There you go.
Well, people didn't have a regular thing to hate on, so they had to
I guess not.
Yeah.
Maybe that was our true service, was to give everybody something. No, honestly, I mean, I'd be remiss not to say, not to say thanks to all the crew for EFN, because they all worked their asses off to make it happen. It was not just me. I was the face of it, but at any given time, there were at least 10 people working on that site, so, but...
Yeah, absolutely, and I appreciated the work you guys put in. I think it was worthwhile. Those interviews are going to stand the test of time, so I hope you leave them up there.
I think someday I'll go back and listen to them, and just ragu will come out of my ears. Like, it'll just be like, no.
This is your penance. Oh,
this is your
so I do have to ask, now that you bring that up, we have a great moment where we discuss spaghetti in episode 2, so I hope you'll get a chance to, take some time to sit down and watch the episode you were actually in.
The Elements of Spaghetti?
Elements of Spaghetti.
It was the Elements of Spaghetti.
God, some of it is just so bad.
Sorry, I had to.
There was a guy at Brony Can, and the one VA panel I was hosting, he asked Peter New if the show would ever incorporate any new designs of armor for the ponies, which, whatever. And and I interjected, and I said, the voice actors don't have anything to do with that decision. That's the design team. And I was proud of myself. I said, but the design team is here from DHX, and you can ask them that question in an hour at their panel. Well, this guy just refused to believe it, and he just yells out, he goes, "Which one of you voices Twilight?" And like, Tara's not here. Oh, well, what about
She's
the
not
designs?
coming.
Really?
They had to throw him out of the room. Yeah, it was kind of
Really?
sad.
Wow, that sucks.
Anyway, that's a non sequitur.
Anyway.
I'll get it.
All right, so is that the final...
ending on that?
Is that the final word?
Well,
is that the final word?
Oh, are we doing this? Okay.
The final word. It's like Jon Stewart's
final word.
Well, if I ever have any of your friends on, Mr. Draft, sorry I'm stuck on that, you're welcome to come back as a co-host if you like.
Hey, that'll be fun. I'll give him some crap.
Solid.
You gotta watch out, I'm a steamroller. I just talk forever.
Oh, no, that's fine. I talk with Digi on a regular basis. I love that
What
shit.
you really should do is get me and Holler on the same show again, and we will just start chewing each other out, you know, just out of
There's another...
The first, like, 5 minutes that you experience will just be like, we'll turn that into an hour. It can be...
See, Holler is the baking soda to my vinegar.
Yeah.
We just froth.
Yeah, a little bit.
That sounds wrong.
Good job. You're making us look bad in front of the public eye.
Too late.
It's white and messy.
No, nobody said anything.
Well, there's one more show I could probably get you guys back for. Are you friends with Asaka Jack? If you could.
Dude, I know Asaka very.
Yeah, what's that?
No, I know him really well. He's good people.
JR just bursts out laughing.
No, that was my Final Fantasy X laugh. Not really anything else. But...
Well, you know, if you could open up a door there for me, if you feel comfortable recommending the show, I'd be glad to have him on.
Oh, what did he say? Did he reject?
I don't know. Maybe I did ask a long time ago.
You know what I would really recommend doing, just as a bit of advice, ask for an email address and send a written request, because that way people will have it on their their emails, and they're easy to like send your contact information, like your Skype and everything else. Send what your show is about. So here's some actual advice. Send what your show is about. Send a link to your channel and say, hey, we're interested in do this. Give them a prospective date range and say, and just put something in there like, if it doesn't work, then great. I bet you will land way more guests that way, because tweeting them alone, I saw it, but I get tweeted a lot, and some of the
well, the trick I usually get is if I could get someone's friend in Brony, they're like, oh yeah, sure, whatever. And I was like,
yeah,
oh.
but you also see, I'm giving you professionalism tips. Also, if you want to ever, get some of the more, because I think horse fame is more or less bunk, but if you want to get some,
I've been told.
If you want to get some of these guys, I think asking for an email to send a contact, it just seems, and I didn't think you were rude, but it does seem more courteous to do it that way.
All right, certainly, not a problem.
And I think that way, like, especially with Aaron, that's his real name, Osaka Jack's real name, he is he likes people who are, well, he's been in Japan too long. He loves politeness. So I would say, like, that way he has a easy way to look at the request, to review the information that's more than 140 characters, and then he can respond easier. That's what I'd say.
I appreciate it. All right.
Because that's what Neal did. Of course, Neal will say, well, Draft, you never responded to my emails, and he would be right, because I was crazy and busy in 2013.
I understood. I got it.
Neal drove up from Iowa to Minnesota and strangled me in person.
That's exactly what happened.
He grabbed at my throat and he said, Draft, you don't know me. And I heard his voice and I said, Neal, is that you? And then we went out and ate French food. It was a magical time.
Where was I? Why did you
Final
come
Draft
me?
is
Holler, this is when you lived in Chicago like a loser.
This was this year.
Hey, I'm from Illinois.
Yeah, actually, I really like Chicago. That's why I'm working with.
No, Chicago's a dump. I was just saying. How dare you?
Hey! Actually, he's not.
That was actually that was in the 10th video that someone did on that edgelord thing, where someone was bitching about people from Chicago. I was like, this is entirely true, but how dare you?
I gotta watch that video now. Actually.
On principle, I have to hate your guts, but you're absolutely right.
Yes.
Here's the way I look at Chicago right now. Giordano's just opened a location in Minneapolis. Chicago is unnecessary. It's unnecessary because there's
Unnecessary.
No, I'm kidding. I like Chicago.
I'll go there when I'm not like on zero sleep.
We dominated basketball for 6 years, sir.
I remember this.
Before we're the best.
Yes.
You also hosted the 1893 World's Fair, which I'm obsessed with, which Holler can tell you all about.
Well, I can't tell you all about it. Why don't you tell him all about it? I'm leaving the call now because he's gonna be in an hour or two now.
Right.
I'm drawing the line. I'm drawing the line.
We are.
Antiques.
I love everyone here, but we're wrapping it up. God bless and take care.
Oh, we're still going. Okay.
Yeah.
No. Anyway.